different angle, and that's usually how they approach this fight when Pink and Vico does beat them there first, but a risky play to try to overtake the high ground. Vico's going to steal it, push Cadeau off, and now they have a separate 2v1 on their low ground. They just don't know exactly where Kiro's at.
You can tell how much these duos want to show their dominance in this early game, and Cadeau now shot 23 times for 25 blue. Unable to get cracked yet, still has shield. Now the crack comes through, the knock comes through. Upper hand for Pink and Vico. The 2v1, will they continue the pressure?
Yep, definitely have the choice here, especially now that they're going to be able to kind of claim this all to themselves. It hasn't spawned in just yet, so in theory, if they don't chase him away, he could grab that reboot card and try to have a second chance at this, but with no shields and no real possibility to do this, I do believe Pink and Vico might be able to claim this for themselves unless any other team wants to rotate in that direction. Diox, Cade, we saw them get into the final 3 of that last game, and already it's looking great to start this off in game 2. A full-on squad wipe towards Ruined Reels. That's going to give them confidence and momentum here.
Actually took out IR Boffo, who we talked about Mongrel, but the last time he competed in FNCS finals was 1,209 days ago. But for IR Boffo, it was actually 1,286. It's been longer than when Mongrel last competed in an FNCS finals. You can see how many veterans are here today, still competing at a top level. Our game 1 victors, Aryan and Lokied, can they hold their momentum?
I think they have it. They brought the momentum into the FNCS because that's back-to-back games now that they have won on the FNCS stage. This goes back to the game 3 of the semis in the lower bracket where they won that game to push themselves into that top 15 just to make it to this stage. So we talked about so many teams being on fire, having the limelight. Well, that's a team that deserves it with how well they've been playing.
Pink and Vico, we go back to the brawl now, as it looks like they will be closer and closer to securing this forecast tower, but the third parties are coming through. It's Yanis, it's Flixie, and that screams danger.
Yep, and we know how well they've been performing leading up until this day, and this could be a big fight right here for the forecast tower because this could be what pushes them over the edge to kind of take game 2 here of the FNCS. But with the high ground, they still have some adversity to face and having to figure out how they're going to get down low to Pink and Vico, how they're even going to get the NPC. And I don't think it's going to be a safe possibility. There's too much risk involved. So it does look like Flixie and Yanis from Reckless Railway is going to disengage on out and basically start on over where they began.
One of the most important parts to grand finals is there are set lobbies and you can have a general idea of, you know, who's dropping on you, who's landing in the surrounding area, and who are taking those fights for the forecast towers or even for big objectives, mythic items. And if you're looking in the feed and you see the 2 duos that are going head to head, one player of each team gets knocked down, you know now there are 2 solos battling it out, and you can capitalize on that situation. I'm sure Flixie and Yanis kind of saw that Pink and Vico took out one of their opponents, but they knew it was still a duo, so it wasn't enough to play extra aggressive. For Noah and Aqua, though, starting off so high up in the first match, controlling height down to the 2nd place. Even though they didn't win the match, it's a game of consistency, being 2 days of competition. So you know they're more than happy with that way to start it off.
You know, I'm kind of looking at them in this game to kind of figure out what's the mental toughness, right? You can be happy that you got that top 3, you're in 3rd place, but it's all about, can you have that mental composure to realize that opportunity slipped through your hands, and instead of being 1st place on the leaderboard, you are positioned in 3rd, but we'll figure out how they can continue to compose themselves as we jump on board Venno and Tayson. From Grand Glacier, you see them rotating around, using a lot of those static launch pads for mobility. That allows them the elevation to figure out where a lot of these teams are positioned at as well. And from what we saw in last game, Surge is going to be a problem for them. It happened in game 1, and with nobody nearby here in game 2, you got to imagine it's going to be the same thing.
Edge of the map here, you can see a few duos in the surrounding area taking shots at each other. Camiseti, Aqua, Noah. Even another duo up north here. You can see, though, in terms of materials, they've done a great job. Almost full up on metal. Have have some of their bases built already. As zone has pulled closer. Snipe shot. Unable to connect from Cammy. Only 7 more in the chamber. And with so much of the match left, you do not want to waste those shots.
Yeah, I was wondering. He left the med kit up there, and I was like, what does Cammy and Seti have in their mind? Well, they have a ton of different heals scattered around their drop spots, kind of saving it for later. Weapon cache is starting to appear for a lot of these teams. It does look like Reason and Video might have shared one with Noah and Aqua, with Noah and Aqua being the ones to collect that and all that loot. And you got to think, look at the materials right now. It isn't necessarily too bad for Verdeel and Reason, but they definitely still have more work to do, and where they're going to get the metal is going to be the question for me.
That is a difficult resource, the most scarce one on the map, and usually these players will have routes for everything, for storm surge, for right off the drop spot, how to maximize efficiency to get as much loot as possible, but also be put in an advantageous position against your opponents if you're contested, and even were to farm up that metal, as it's so crucial later in the match. We've also seen a lot of bushes being put to good use, especially if you have a sniper rifle like Flixie does have in hand. You can see almost like Cammy and Seti here with the amount of spare loot they have. They're like squirrels hiding all their nuts, all their precious items around their drop spot, as all it takes is one quick sniper shot. I'm wondering here if, I mean, the wood structures are kind of on purpose, as it's going to block those shots from opponents taking blind shots into the builds, but at the same time open up opportunities for you to peek.
And you can see, though, I like the way you said, I feel like we're two peas in a pod sometimes, because I'm looking at those builds. You see some of them are kind of edited down just a little bit to try to minimize the amount of coverage that they won't be able to kind of shoot shots from while still being able to protect themselves outside of the box. I haven't seen that too much from players that are camping in a lot of these bushes. See if the trend does continue, because that's usually what happens. A lot of the tricks are saved for moments like this, and then everybody immediately starts to adapt. Steal strategies, use whatever they can get their hands on.
Once again, you can see Vaniax and Ed, they have their planned route. They always make up kind of a tower on one of the mountains around their drop spots, specifically in areas where they believe their opponents will rotate through. But the opponents learn this as time goes on, and they know that there's going to be a duo positioned around that area taking shots at them, so they will try and use natural, well, the environment to kind of take cover from that and even use a bit more builds. Pixie, though, look at this. 5 medkits, Jacob. So early on, you can wonder. What they're going to want to do in the late game.
He's definitely ready for this meta. It does come down to a heal-off scenario. He has about 2 games worth at this stage. Walks and Pixie just kind of looking around. You see they do have that snooty steps hammer pump. So you got to imagine they have the medallion along with them as well. About 4 or 5 teams on the outskirts out of zone. A couple more just inside the zone as well. So they're going to make their rotation early so they don't get stuck in a lot of the chaos that's down there. Pink and Vico, different plans in mind. Venno, Tayson, slowly but surely, once again, creeping up on their spot. And you can see what both of these teams are fighting for right there on the ground, which was claimed by Venno and Tayson, which was yet another weapons cache.
The altercation from the forecast tower third party to now the combat cache, as both teams could always use a bit more damage. Rift Island has even appeared close by, so they have different options to go towards. Question is, what's on their mind? Storm Surge now appears. They're going to see exactly how comfortable or stressful the situation is, depending on how much damage they might need. But this time around at the Rift Island, instead of 3 duos contesting it at the same time, there's only one. Clown, Girls, and they've even secured the flag already. Quite free for this duo.
You see him choosing the loot, switching out the shotgun. Do I want the frenzy? What are you taking in a situation like this? Purple frenzy, gold hammer pump?
Look, I'm a hammer.
He doesn't know.
Type of person, but you can see, yeah, I mean, still making decisions. You know, do I take the extra stack of medkits? Do I leave some? Do I box them up and continue looking for shots? As 0 elims on the board, you know they're going to need damage. 38 duos, 74 players. I mean, there are a lot of teams being contested right off the start, so it's not as stacked in these initial zones. Avs we've seen previously when there's not as many people getting contested. But at the same time, once those initial engagements finish off, not a lot of teams end up getting eliminated after.
You can see Pablo, Bevy's just outside. They need to be careful because really susceptible to a snipe from Loot Island if they do want to look in that direction. You can see spotting out where players are positioned at, and they're like right in the middle. They can rotate back towards Rift Island, try to grab one of those rifts that are around. They can rotate to zone, try to beat everybody there. The choice is definitely theirs, and for Pablo and Bevy's, this is definitely a great position to be in, to have so much control over your destiny at this stage in the game.
Let's take a look here. Walks, Pixie, what they were able to do.
Oh, no.
Quick crash pad right into Vortexer's box, taking him down. Volko. Now, was he able to escape? Was he not? Either way, that's a huge elim.
And those are the plays I love to see with the crash pad. Hides all the audio. You can sneak up on a player just like that. Even when they're rotating with each other, that little bit of separation is all it takes to find just a little nifty elimination like that. Han and Vasquez. Center zone is what it looks like. High up on the mountain. 110. Nice snipe shot. Even threading some assault rifle shots through to get even more damage for their storm surge. Positioned well. Veno, though, fighting from the low ground against Pablo and Bevy's, who we've literally seen moments ago. And I kind of asked this question to start the game. What is their plan for surge? They are going to be below, but with a snipe like that, that's definitely going to help Veno and Tayson get above the damage threshold.
We were talking about it. Veno has been hitting some insane shots these days. Can he keep it up in the grand finals when the pressure is on? That one sniper shot put him above. As now Bevy's. Uh-oh, be careful, Bevy's. You've gotten stuck. 34 now, cracked, no shield to work with. Veno gets the knock. Pablo is taken out. Bevy's is low on HP. But this is huge for Tayson and Veno.
Yep, Steven snipes the body, max damage. Just trying to get as much as they can when it comes to surge. Bevy nearby, but Bevy's time is ticking. He doesn't have any HP. He's below on surge. And he can't necessarily even rotate first because there's 3 teams waiting for him on the other side. This is going to be his golden opportunity. Lands the shot onto Veno. No heals left over. Bevy needs a miracle if he's going to try to make it to zone. And it's not going to happen. He goes down. Veno, Tayson strike again.
A little elim airdrop package from above from Veno and Tayson. I'm sure they heard that elimination. They could scavenge the rest of the loot. They're just on the edge here. They're not even too far from making it in, so you can see they're healing up, getting healthy before rotating back in. Aqua Noah, though, currently only 4 below the threshold, forced to pop those floppers, to pop that Flowberry Fizz, as just one shot is what they need. They have that smart pistol. It locks onto your opponents, but for that, they need to peek.
So you just need somebody to peek, and that was the opportunity, but aims just a little too late. Doesn't get the timing. Forced to crash pad. Noah's trying to lead the way, but even he's a short distance away from his opponents. Finally, Aqua's going to land a couple shots with that smart pistol, get him ahead of the threshold, but Noah goes down to Reason, trying to play desperation to get some storm surge, and it cost him everything.
Now with no duo partner, Aqua scavenging the materials, but from behind, Fadil finishing off his second match of the day, as they'll now have a bit more freedom on how they want to rotate in here. Looks like it's going to be a Flowberry crash pad combo.
I feel bad for him because not even I saw that coming, and I got the mini-map to help me out. He thought he was so safe trying to make his way in, but Fadil, Reason, strike. That's going to be their second elimination of the game so far. Over 300 damage above the threshold. Still got some more distance to cover, but that's what these crash pads are for.
Another one put to good use, as I believe it's Ski, close to the right now. They've boxed up under the train tracks. They do have the freedom to do so, as they don't need that elevated position for the damage.
Too much action going down around the map. This is around the time where Veno, Tayson were taking down Pablo. Seda was able to take down Buell, but gets beamed in the back by Swidgy and Putrick. No HP to regain, so he cannot stay in the zone for too much longer. And now they're positioned against 2 hungry players, Vico and Pink. Not the best placing in game 1, but at least they were able to pull out a 16th place.
I believe they have the forecast tower this match. so they do know where these next zones are pulling. You can see how well they've already positioned themselves in this 7th zone. And their duos, or not the duos, but their opponents in the areas might be wondering, you know, do they know something that we don't? Should we be following them as they continue to rotate? Good amount of materials, decent amount of shield. As we look back over, Thomas HD. Now look, Jacob, Thomas HD, 14 top 10s, 10 top 5s, 7 top 3s in FNCS finals, but yet to take one home, yet to lift up that trophy. And now with 5 elims on the board, could this be the tournament?
Yeah, I kind of made a bold call, with, probably along with everybody else in Fortnite, thinking this could be the Thomas HD season. He has yet to win one, but he has also come so close so many times. It's almost painful at this point, no matter how well you're performing. If you ain't first, I don't want it. That's probably what Thomas is thinking now at this stage.
You know
in the
how
game.
much he wants it. You know.
Especially with global championship spots up for grabs after this weekend. They could be the first ones to claim it as their own.
That is the question. That is the question. But with so many titans, so many legends from Fortnite competitive competing here today, it's harder than ever to take a spot at globals. I drop Nebs though. 368 above. They're feeling quite healthy here as Art Skill is going to be able to pick one up. Storm Surge active now, though. The lobby is going to get electric.
Yeah, one thing about iDrop and Nebs, we really know what they're capable of. They can pop off at the biggest moments. Sometimes when things don't go their way, it's hard for them to kind of get back on track. But like you said, 368 damage above the threshold. Very little for them to do. It's just kind of biding their time, waiting the next couple of seconds for zone to move forward before they figure out where their rotation is going to come from. And already you're seeing them lining up a crash pad play, even though they do have some grapple blades.
Waiting for the perfect moment. They hear their shots. They know that Storm Surge is active, and it's going to cause the aggression from the players that are below. For Hen and Ski, though, already one elim on the board. Grapple blading ahead of zone. Will they build up, though? They have an opportunity for elevation. Are they going to take it? It looks like Ski's already boxed up. Almost full low here. A whole duo on top of him as he's forced to wait for the regroup.
Yeah, they went on the right side of the zone where it opened up, giving them more space to work with. As they're above damage on threshold, you see a lot of teams around them may not necessarily be as safe as they are. Get an early peek at high ground. Swizzy Pootrick. Might be too soon to tell if they can hold on to it. At least that's the way the trend has been going all FNCS long, even from the open qualifiers to the semifinals into this stage here that we saw in game one. You hold on to it too soon, a team will more than likely at least try to battle you for it.
I mean, it worked out for Aqua and Noah in game one. Got them all the way to second place before they had to take an engagement. Issue was for Aqua and Noah, all they had was one flopper, no medkits. And on the contrary, I believe I did see 3 medkits in one of the inventories up there in the clouds. So hopefully they can hold on, as all they'll need is materials. And now, 9th zone, first moving, commencing.
Yeah, majority of the lobby having a far pool. Flixie taking some shots, but not anything to get scared about. Vico Pink, they have different plans in mind, trying to get to the box. Art Skill stuck by himself, unable to really land the damage for the elimination, but I love the aggression coming out of Vico and Pink when they need it most. They cannot run out of material. Vidio, Reason in a similar spot, but they've got themselves space and time to pop the medkits. It's the shields that they're lacking, though.
Does Resin have a Flowberry Fizz? I see him take it out now.
Yes.
It's going to be enough to recuperate a bit of shield, even give them that boost to continue rotating through. They're above. They're getting healthier. They have a couple eliminations and a good amount of materials. You can see now as the tarps continue, so does the pressure. Queasy knocked down. It's all up to Thomas now.
He snatched that medallion at the last second, and on the receiving end of the Mythic Frenzy, all but just a sliver of HP, but he gets forced back to the zone. That's where Thomas is going to get credit for that knock, and you see him going back, trying to get the materials, maxed up on loot as well. He's definitely cementing himself to have a big game here as a solo.
Oh, 3 med kits for Thomas HD, full materials. This is what he needs to continue forwards. He can even play the heal off if he's able to make it far enough. 17 duos are up, 30 players.
Multiple medallions as well. The list of things that are going right for Thomas, other than him being a solo, is there. Nebs and iDrop trying to break to the back of the zone, the back of the box. They get confused momentarily as iDrop takes a huge amount of damage trying to make his way in. This is where they're going to stagger themselves. Flowberry Fizz, and say hop their way to the front side of the zone.
Still on high ground. I believe it's Swizzy Putrick. They've been maintaining it, but iDrop Nebs, their second height, as the pressure from above is gonna be raining down shortly. The zone pulling over water. Tace and Veno close to second as Thomas is still going strong.
Yep, he's looking probably the toughest solo player here, even separating himself from everybody else. Veno, Tace, and make a shot at the high ground. It drops down, and it turns on its side. They're the ones who went in for the elimination. Veno stuck to the outside of the zone, 15 HP, running out of builds, but finds a huge blind fire with the Reaper, unable to get the knock, but he's still trying to chase that elimination as he runs out of builds.
Just 15 HP, and it's gonna be the one shot to take him out. Vico now left as a solo as well, gone down, eliminated. It's Thomas HD. He's still going.
This is a solo that everybody knows that can put up some big points. 6 eliminations by himself, 8 as a team. A 9th's gonna be found as Lunex goes down, but Monier is trying to save the day. Swizzy towards the outside as well. There's where all Thomas's loot is gonna go, to the west side as he gets pressured from the high ground.
Winnable for Thomas HD. He has 3 medkits. He can play the heal off. All he needs to do is stay up until that last zone. With 8 or 7 eliminations to his lane, he is on fire.
Yeah, everybody here is solos but one team, and it might be the high ground team. This could be a great chance for Thomas to win this game. Taking a tick in the zone, that's going to allow him to start the heal off just a second earlier as iDrop's trying to creep around below. Thomas spots him out, makes him run into the next box. This is where everybody's getting closer and closer together, running out of time here at the end.
Huge for Thomas HD. That's it, but he gets dropped down. He gets eliminated. The medkits go to iDrop. It's now 2 duos up, 2 versus 1. Will iDrop have the space to pop the medkit? Yanis, Flixi taking shots, taking the elimination, and getting the VR for game 2.
No medkits, no heals, no problem for Yanis and Flixi. And they even saw that person trying to heal off, thunder bursting straight into the box to cancel the medkit and steal the game away. Yanis and Flixi are looking like the Titans on top of the mountain now.
They were dominating in this recent match. I'm not sure exactly when they were able to overthrow high ground, but there was so many solos down below that just having that chemistry, having both players up, was enough to give them that advantage to secure the win.
Just looking, Flixi just looking smooth, calm, cool, collected, backside of the zone. And this is where they knew it was all over for iDrop, had him trapped, and as soon as they saw the audio visuals, the med kit going off, they beamed into the box to take him down.
That's a huge way to start off game 2 for Yanis and Flixi. They were unable to secure the first VR, but now you know they're feeling happier and more motivated than ever. But this is just the beginning, Jacob. They have a long ways to go.
Yep, and this is where everybody else in the lobby here has a chance to pick up some points. There's still 4 games left on the day, but let's throw on over to Frankie, Levin, and Minnie to let us know what the leaderboard is looking like after 2.
Thank you very much, guys. It's going to be really interesting to watch day 1 of the grand finals because we're still seeing teams having to adjust to finding those surge tags, but also just getting the measure of the lobby. But Janice and Flixi, Mini Minor, have clearly started running before the rest have really started walking.
Yeah, it just shows they got to that point in the game really nicely. You could see when we went to their POVs, they were still stacked. They still had all those meds, all of those mats, of course, as well. And ultimately, what actually got them high ground wasn't even their own height take. It was Veno and Tayson actually trying to chop down height, drop them into their box, which then just gave Janice and Flixi the green light to go up. So a really nicely sort of set of circumstances for them, I suppose. So really nicely played from those guys. And of course, they had to capitalize. And if there's one of the teams that we talk about as being a high ground team to look out for, if it isn't Aqua and Noah, it's Janice and Flixi.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys, they're so confident this season and things really are working for them. I think there's a reason why they've come into the tournament considered a favorite by most people. They're just aren't really any holes in their game plan all the time. And even when they get put in these tough situations like this, they're not working with the most materials here by any means, right? The mats are low, but they're making things work. And I think it's a big testament to both of them. Of course, Janice already, we know his experience in these moments, but Flixie really rising to the occasion. I actually asked him before Grands, I said, Flixie, do you think you guys have any weaknesses? Like, what's going to stop you from winning Grands? He says, no weaknesses at all. We're winning. And that's the kind of confidence you're going to need to have if you're going to have any success in this kind of competition. So really impressive game for them. And like I was saying last game, Frankie, right? If we're going to see them get these sort of top fives, wins even, it's going to have to be, you know, from high ground positions. And that's what we saw here today.
So do you think, well, I'm guessing you know Levin, hence why I'm asking you. Is Janice calling all the shots here, given that he has won grand finals before?
Yes, for the most part, you know, a lot of time you'll see Janice lead, but Flixie has the ability to as well. Like, he's done that before. So I think, you know, the fact that both players are comfortable in decisions that are being made always helps.
Yeah, and that's definitely something for other duos to take note of. It's so important to understand what your role is in the game. And my role is to throw to the leaderboard. So let's check out the situation after game number 2. I kind of want to ask you guys, actually, about the duo in number 6 right now. I drop a Nebs because I swear over the past 2 weeks I have watched these guys challenge for height every single time, and something never quite comes off for them. A mini minor.
Yeah, it seems to be that throughout their style of gameplay. We've spoken about this duo a lot, and about their lack of consistency when it comes to these tournaments, and of course, not even just across the tournament, of course, across different events as well, Levin. That seems to be a problem for them, but it seems like, you know, second place for those guys right there seems to be a little bit starting to click a little bit more for those guys, playing more mid-ground layers in that particular game, as we saw from those guys. So maybe that could be the key to their consistency.
Yeah, and I like that for them. Like, that's sort of a style that I think is definitely effective for them. It plays to sort of their strengths, and I think will be, you know, effective for them moving forward as well. I think iDrop and Nevs are definitely a team that, you know, people look at and go, they could very well be good, but you also look at them sometimes and you go, I don't know what I'm gonna get. So it's good to see them sort of finding a bit of rhythm here.
Also, talking of rhythm, it's just made me think of our boy Thomas HD, the Danish hero, because he was absolutely on fire. You know, Queasy got some solid early eliminations, but once Thomas was left alone, once Thomas swapped that sniper for the meds, we thought he was going to win the heal off, and unfortunately it wasn't to be, Levin.
Still, the clutch was really impressive, Frankie. I mean, this guy he's coming off of a hot performance, right? In the semi-finals, Thomas led the way in terms of damage dealt and the ratio of damage dealt to damage taken, right? This guy is a tank. He you know, he's eating up not much damage, but he's outputting a very, very high amount, and we saw that on display here in this game. Nobody's safe in this end game. I mean, people are running about, they're just getting shot from everywhere, and you're almost thinking, where's it coming from? It's Thomas HD, he's always lurking in the shadows. And I mean, look, solo clutch performances are always huge, not just for finding rhythm mini, right, but keeping your tournament alive.
Yeah, exactly, and giving your team a little bit of a boost of confidence, especially for Thomas right now. He's more comfortable, I feel like, when he's in these solo clutch situations. He seems to be more calm when he's in that position because, of course, he has that mythic shotgun that we've spoken about him using so well before. And I think that's ultimately what you can have in your team. You have someone like Thomas HD that can bring the team up when Queasy went down right there and can carry the team on his back. You're onto a winner, and hopefully they don't need to use that too much.
Yeah, and we've seen already in some of these games, right? They're contested or spawn. They're not guaranteed to play 12 out of 12 games. So you have to make these kind of games count. Otherwise, you know, you're going to be looking back on this FNCS going, it was almost a win we wanted, but not quite. So hopefully we can see them keep up those performances.
Well, we're nearly at the halfway point of day 1, boys. So I'm hoping now that those duos we're expecting big things from have managed to ease into the competition, and we're going to see even more duos make it to that end game, because they're going to need a buddy with them when the fighting gets to its end point. So let's head back to our casters to Carter and Jacob PR for game number 3.
Levin said it best. Nobody is safe in the grand finals. From Mongrel and Savage contested off the start. Yanis and Flixie annihilating the players from above. And even Aqua and Noah in the first match, holding height throughout the whole late game. Nobody's safe, Jacob.
Yeah, nobody's safe at all. But let me give a huge congratulations to Flixie one time. That was his first VR in an FNCS finals lobby. And there was a lot of questions going around. We know what Giannis is capable of, but can Flixie keep up when the pressure is on? And let me tell you, he kept up, and he kept up big. But now if that momentum can carry over to the next 4 games, we will be on the lookout for Giannis and Flixie lead to kind of end the day. But there's still a lot of teams that have to push themselves over the limit to catch up on the leaderboard before it's too late. Game 3 starts now, and it's the last game before the half.
From the forecast tower engagements, the POI early game battles, 1-1 for King and Phaser. Mongrel and Savage keep getting third-partied. What are going to be the changes, Jacob, that these players make to put the odds in their favor as Pink, Vico, Cadeau, Kiro, the battle for the forecast tower turned into a 50-50 off the start. Weapon goes to Kiro and Cadeau, and looks like they are going to take the 2 elims.
Well, that's one way to take control of the forecast tower instead of waiting. And that's what I was talking about. The camping, getting there first is important, but the fights all around the map are just starting so quickly. Thomas goes down after a miraculous performance as a solo. It's going to be all up to Queasy here by himself, but he definitely does have the hammer pump and the striker. If he can solidify one of these fights into a 1v1, he will have a huge chance to clutch up.
From the solo rampage that Thomas had in the previous late game to now getting elimed off the start, leaving it up to Queasy. Is Queasy gonna be able to bring them back from this early game? He's not in a good place at all. Being a 1 versus 2, being forced to let his opponents heal up, loot up. He's really gonna have to do something special to get out of this.
Even though they know he has to go back for the reboot card onto Thomas, it's almost like he doesn't have a chance to loot it up just yet. He has to kind of build himself up before he kind of makes that chance to go back on over towards Lavish Layer. But for now, it's Noms and Cringe who are going to be able to claim it as their own. And what they're doing here is they're making sure Queasy isn't anywhere in sight, not too much around, so that way they can go for that NPC uncontested.
You can see how quickly he disengaged, but we'll take a look. Fencing Fields as well, highly contested POI spot. 3 duos landing here. Throughout most of the matches, though, it has seemed that Malabuka and Murstache are the duo that secures the medallion, that secures that mythic loot, and eventually the vault. Will that trend continue? Will their opponents get a bit more aggressive? As Diox and Cade, you can even see they are leading the pack in terms of points.
Yeah, just consistency overall has been kind of destroying the playing field, even if they aren't picking up a ton of eliminations. But that's the thing. Even though they're not getting the fencing-filled loot, they're still able to do wonders with their game plan. Just got to imagine what happens when one of these teams falls way below the points that they kind of gather in some of these games. As he not only gets the mythic loot, he finds the gold one as well. Savage by himself. I believe Mongrel was dropped off earlier on in this same game as Nate and Lane are just taking over the ship at station.
Mongrel, Savage put into panic as they got to figure out what can they do. Even if they come out on top in the 2 versus 2 off the start, there's so many players in the surrounding area. The duo's waiting for that to happen so they can third party. There's almost no way to get out of that situation unless they're able to finish the engagement almost instantly. Oh, but be careful. If you saw what I saw, Jacob, I think I saw a little Queasy there crouched up behind the register waiting to take someone's order. Is Ark hungry, though? Is he thirsty? Does he want to drink from the gas station? I hope not.
Uh-oh.
This could be massive to turn Queasy's game around.
Oh, he has to go in there eventually, though. That's the thing. He has to go in there to collect all that gold. Queasy. He has to be perfect here, land the shot. In goes Ark. This is his chance. Queasy's just being very careful. First shot's gonna go through, and that's gonna be a monster of a shot. Ark is by himself. His teammate in the minimap trying to close the distance, trying to alleviate some of that pressure. Shots come in. Queasy gets a knock on the Ark. That is gonna be one, but Rick Moore's there to revenge his teammate, and he gets it with ease on the Queasy. A nice attempt coming out, just wasn't enough to pull them over. And Queasy and Thomas are down.
got the initial shot off. Was not able to box him up in time, though. Good reaction time, to be fair, by his opponent there. Just holding off until his duo came to help out. Queasy, I don't think even got the full finish, only the knock, so won't be getting those 4 points. As a reminder, it is 4 points per elimination today, but tomorrow the points do multiply by 1.5, so it's 6 points per elim tomorrow. As we look back at Ski Hen, we're just kind of looking around to see if there's any players rotating.
Yeah, it does look like, I do believe they're going to get that forecast tower for themselves, unless anybody's willing to make the risky play and try to go for it and contest them. So one forecast tower down. Pink and Vico went down to kind of start the game, so you got to imagine Kiro and Cadeau are claiming that for themselves. Right on cue, thank you very much. So that's 2 forecast towers down, seeing who's really giving themselves the best opportunity to take the game. And look at Cadeau's inventory, no shotgun at all. What a risky play, because if they were to get contested, not only are they separated, I'm not sure how well he's going to be able to fight back with just a striker.
I mean, we talked about looking at the feed in these lobbies. The players in the surrounding areas that could potentially third party would have seen that Pink and Vico got eliminated right off the bat. And basically means that Kiro and Cadeau are going to be more than healthier. Or healthier enough to get that forecast tower. But Giro's Cherry, they were looking like they had the tower for themselves. But now, Putrick, Swizzy, they say, we want that rotate. We want to be able to see those zones. And Giras gets cracked. This could be more than enough. Was it the NPCs that spawned in that did all that damage? Was it Swizzy? As he gets the knock, it seems. The 1 versus 2 now for Putrick and Swizzy.
Oh, I thought he was going to go in there and try to activate it real quick. It's down. Anybody can grab it, but the cone is stopping the terminal from easily being accessible. As you said, Gears is already going to get chopped down. Putrick is ready to go on the hunt with the Flowberry Fizz. They haven't even gathered the forecast tower yet. I'm assuming with a little bit of hesitation from Swizzy, he's going to try to capture it before it's too late.
Forecast tower will be captured. Putrick now trying to hunt down this player that's escaped from his line of sight. But with zone closing, it is the second zone. It's not going to be too dangerous to stay in it, especially as quickly as they can rotate. But it looks like Putrick's going to give up on that idea. He kind of took a look, said, nah, maybe not. As he goes back to Swizzy now. And they're grouped up.
Yeah, that was looking a little cautious there for a moment. But for Putrick and Swizzy, not too many worries for them. Still trying to go on a sniping spree, seeing a team trying to build and move their way forward. Forecast tower is going to be secured. Swizzy making that call for himself, letting Putrick get confident. That's Robound and Axe Force in the distance that Swizzy and Putrick are potentially trying to gatekeep on out before they move their way forward. They have multiple ways to rotate here, whether the grapple blade or the launch pad right above them. The choice is definitely theirs.
You can see, too, there's not even that many. I didn't see a single duo based up on the edge of the zone as well. So Swizzy Putrick shouldn't have too many issues as they rotate on in. For Cammy and Seti, they have pulled this initial zone quite close to their drop spot, so they haven't had to rotate too far at all. But they have had to continue looking for those shots. There's only one duo currently in their line of sight. And he's unable to hit that initial sniper shot.
Very quiet performance so far as well from Cammy and Seti. Something that you don't typically see, but when you do see them start off slow in an event, it is the early portion, so don't be too surprised if you see them have a global championship style performance in the finals where they were able to catch up on the tail end. Yanis and Flixie rotating. They haven't had to rotate too far though from Reckless Railways. They're just trying to leave the POI, get some surge, backtrack in their steps. They know where all the loot is at over here towards Reckless Railways, so it won't be hard for Flixie to find the HP he needs.
See on the mini-map, there are a few duos, but they're all kind of in the surrounding areas of Reckless. Nothing too close. For Eclipse and Dexy, though, what's gone wrong here? Porhawa is going to be the player up against them. No duo partner, so it's a 1v1.
A team that plays so well. Multiple second places throughout the qualification process. Even got a first place just to get this far. Doesn't want to give up on that play. Eclipse is still going to be knocked. Dexy's the one that has to play defensive. Perhawa goes in, doesn't land the shots he needs. Everything gets turned upside down. Eclipse, the revive was actually able to go off. Now it's a 2v1. Perhawa has to make the decision. Do I continue to hold my spot or disengage? And that decision is going to be made rather quickly with him running out of materials, running out of time. Dexy, Eclipse, they're going to continue to be on the chase. And it's a short-lived chase as they find the elimination and send that full team back to the lobby.
Perfect timing to pick up his duo partner there for Hallwell. Unable to stop it, leading to his demise. Volko, Vortex is now right beside Ping and Mixon's box, just kind of eyeballing them down. You can tell they're hungry. They want something here. They want a little snack. Issue is, third zone is quite a ways away. They will have to make a rotate here, but at the same time, if they can get a bit of damage, I don't know. The question is, who's going to rotate first? Who's going to be the duo? Kind of initiate this, as there's also a lot of players in the surrounding areas that are going to be doing the same.
Yeah, I can imagine yelling at each other through the cones. You rotate first, because you know as well as I do what you're kind of alluding to. If you rotate first, you're susceptible to kind of getting tagged up. You're susceptible to kind of getting focused there in the lobby. But then you do have priority if you're able to make it through unscathed, to kind of continue to rotate ahead of everybody else. Malibuca and Mustache, they made that rotation very, very quickly in this game to try to get them a spot, which isn't too far off from their POI. Just south of them is going to be fencing fields, but they're separated. Mustache has a tower on top of a small hill. They're just trying to increase the chances of them being able to get surged so they don't have to worry about it later in the game during rotations.
You know, normally I'm not too against duos being separated when they have kind of like two separate towers, two elevated locations that they've kind of built bases on, but Malibuca being so low, it's not like he even has that much vision on the opponents, and they are far enough that it could get risky. But we'll switch over to Aqua Noah, who are going straight for the box fighting to get that damage. They are by Hazy Hillside, opposite side of the map from what we've been looking at. But it looks like iDrop Nebs aren't interested as they continue to rotate.
Yeah, and I know we were making all these jokes. You know, what year is it? With the people qualifying, Aqua, Mongrel, a lot of our OGs make it to this far, but it just kind of shows that they still got it. Especially Noah and Aqua starting this game off in 7th place so far throughout 2 games, been pretty consistent. And this one could be the one to kind of push them over the top, ahead of that point curve, because usually after game 3, that's when you see the curve start to form, where you're out in the leaderboard. You're either on top with very little worries, or you're in the middle. That's where you really got to pick up your game.
Let's take a look here at what Cammy was able to do. Looks like they caught Sined off guard here. Just one quick frenzy shot's all it's going to take. Be careful, though. Huge shot landed onto Cammy. Dropped him down to 50 HP. Forced to recuperate his HP and shield back up. The good news is 3 medkits, 3 big pots. Has basically everything you would need to continue going. But you can see now they are rotating in on a side of the zone that has a lot of duos already based up and finishing their rotates even. If you look at the bottom right at the mini map. So even if they take a minute to pause here in this bush and kind of take a look at where those duos are, they could plan an efficient route.
Yeah, with the zone pulling towards the north, pulling towards the east, I do believe there will be a gap if they continue to either move towards the eastern part of the zone, because a lot of those teams will already have rotated in. Mustache gets a knock on the Buell. Cammy and Seti just kind of eyeing up their rotation, waiting for a lot of these teams in, so that way they can spot them out and figure out where the next spot is going to be for them. Noah makes this one look easy. Darkies goes in and out of that box almost simultaneously with a well-placed couple shots.
Mustache now, Reaper in hand. But with 413 damage above the threshold, it's not like they're in an urgency to do much more. You can see the floppers on the ground. The big pots, spare one's gonna be popped here. What's the rotate they're planning? They have the grapple blades. The big pot coming, getting put to good use here. As it's Raban, and his duo partner close by.
Yeah, a lot of the spots just getting more and more congested with each waving second. Even sounds like a reboot van is going off, and they're trying to chase that one. That's Dark. He's lost his teammate maybe a couple of minutes ago, if that, and now he's just fighting to keep their game alive here in game 3. Raisin is going to get dropped to just a sliver of HP. Is he going to get anything off? No, he's not. but that's no worries. They're close to
They're good.
zone. They
They're
have
fine.
more than enough med kits. This is a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Instead of wasting one of those med kits earlier, going from 10 HP all the way to 100, now he's going to start off at 30.
Look, Resident Video, we're not letting that one slide. They heard the reboot coming through, instantly crash padding as Nebs instantly getting a knock now. 1v1, but not gonna be enough as Miko is gonna finish him off. Question is now, he has to pick up his duo partner, but the third party is too dominant. Gets elimed. Nate, duo partner, Scree lane now as well. After taking out Mongrel and Savage, they have 3 elims on the board. They're not done yet.
Now they want to go ahead and make an off-spawn battle like that count. Kind of get as many points as possible because nothing is guaranteed going up against a team like Mongrel and Savage, especially with multiple third parties that we've already seen throughout 3 games wanting to disrupt that and try to pick up points on any weak opponents. But they have so much distance to cover before they find that safety in towards the zone. And since they got to go over the mountain, they can't even crash pad right out of the gate to get there.
The zone's always difficult on thin ice in the hills. It opens up some opportunities to kind of use that natural environment to block some shots as you rotate. But at the same time, when it's full of duos, full of players doing the same, it makes it that much more difficult. And look at this. Once again, Jacob, the kind of bush base, I guess I'll call it, that Janice and Flixie have continued to do, where I'd say it uses just as much materials as a regular box, but you have a lot more vision, and the opponents don't even know exactly where you're taking those shots from. You can see now all the rifts from Rift Island coming through, the launch pads, a bunch of birds in the sky. They're basically just aim training right now. Unfortunately, it looks like they need to put a bit more hours into it, as not a shot has been landed yet, but hopefully the snipe unable to connect.
Yeah, I got to be thanking Yanis there for grabbing that smart pistol. The few shots that were able to connect and get them above the damage threshold, or continuously, I should say, came from that smart pistol with the lock-on feature. Reason Vidil under pressure yet again from one fight to the next. That's Casper on the other side, and a quick knock going to be found by Reason. Duo has no other choice but to disengage and continue moving forward in zone. And another lifeline has been grabbed by Vidil and Reason, because look at the med kits, look at the shields and the material they were able to get because of that.
You're gonna see now, it is 6 zone. It's gonna be ticking 2 every second here, so they will have to pop some med kits. They have the Flowberry Fizz to grant them that mobility boost, even the grapple blades to continue, but by this zone, you can see there's a lot of duos already built up on the edge, so they will be looking back, especially if they heard shots. So Resident Vidil are gonna have to be careful here, but do they even want more? Still hungry for another elim. They get the crack, but quickly realize, you know what, maybe we should rotate the zone first, and then we can hold them from there.
Great decision for them, because now when the zone does open up, there's going to be a lot of space for them to work with. A couple duos around as well. They got to be careful. Saw Pablo getting cracked over there towards the side. Cadeau and Kiro teamed up as well. Lazen forced to be by himself until Lox reunites. He was the one that got tagged up on the edge of zone not too long ago. Vbucks and Mustache almost 300 damage above the threshold. This is a team that we thought being contested was one of the worst things that could happen to them, and I feel like that's a blessing in disguise the way they're playing.
100%. I'm thinking back though, Cadeau, they do have the forecast tower, so seeing that they're based up on the edge could be, because next zone is going to pull there once again. Pixie though, only 8 below, but that 8 damage is going to be enough to potentially take him out of the match here. There it is, gets eliminated the Storm Surge. Mustache Vbucks going to be rewarded now with a mythic item and a medallion. More than enough loot here, and it's King Phaser beside them.
That's their second medallion, second mythic weapon. Looking to be the final boss if you can collect them all. King Phaser, you said, not too far away from that box, but they're so far below the damage threshold. They might have no other choice but to try to box fight Vbucks and Mustache if none of these teams get close enough that they can put some shots through. But it's King. Instead of dealing damage, he takes another couple of shots, forced to use his very last big pot.
Pressure is on for the duo. Chaos unfolding as Storm Surge is now active. No sniper rifle in King's hand. It's what's made him turn around from these situations time and time again. As now it has to be done. It's a full-on entry to an opponent's box, and it comes through. The first knock is secured. The 2v1 is still active, but Surge is still ticking. One more tick, and King gets eliminated here.
Oh no, just dropped down to 5 HP. Phaser's already down. Storm Surge. Mini's gonna be popped just in time. Second one goes through, but still 50 below before he finally makes the desperate attempt to try to get some shots onto Clownski. He goes down along with Phaser, and before placement points as well, so they got very little for this game.
Clown, Growls now gonna pick up the extra loot from King and Phaser. 101 above from those eliminations. That engagement was also a savior for the duo as we check out now. Yanis Flixie, be careful as the Storm Surge aggression continues, but Flixie unfazed.
Oh no. From unfazed to just getting cracked there momentarily. That's how Yanis was kind of left as a solo. Again, another big team on that leaderboard. Losing someone before placement points can go in. Yanis quickly rotating on over. Flowberry Fizz, you see him falling slowly but surely down that damage threshold, which is fine and dandy for now, but he's gonna have to start going on the lookout. Once zone closed, Cammy find a huge elimination onto Tayson. A little bit of a rematch from the Invitational going against Venno next, but he's gonna get chopped down and get everything for himself.
Venno got picked by Surge in the last moment there, making him get eliminated. All these veterans, you can see how difficult it has been to get enough damage. As time and time again, we see these players go down to Surge. Shimoki now, could he be the next victim? What above? Not gonna hold on too long, as now 20 below. Misha though, teeny, straight into a knock. Can they secure the finish? Pressure from the side, third party's coming through. They do get the refresh, but they're only 27 above.
Yeah, and still pressure on the other side of that build. And the problems continue because they have to go max distance on the other side of the zone if they're looking to find some safety. And without any heals, no shields, no med kits that they can use, and running very, very low on build. So Misha, Teeny are going to have to find some sort of elimination and refresh on this rotation, and still getting tagged up through the sky.
Be careful here. Just one shot away from Misha. 10 HP. Just colliding against the rock could be enough to eliminate him here, as they are 190 above. Storm Surge is not going to affect them. Medkit gets dropped, and they start healing.
This is where they can kind of wrap down low towards the bottom. During the qualification, they were pretty consistent towards the top of the leaderboard, doing what they do best. Yanis still under pressure, 46 below, and that pressure just gets even more difficult to work with now that he's on the rotation, trying to find a spot in towards the zone. Ultimate low ground with still some damage to go, but he does have the Flowberry Fizz, does have some med kits, so he could try to heal this one out.
39 players, 22 duos in the water. Don't drown here, Yanis. You have to find something. 2 medkits could help him last a little longer, but with Storm Surge ticking, you have to be careful. 72 HP, medkit gets popped, and the pressure continues from the players below. Forced to cancel the medkit, build up a little more. He has a bit of wood, but with the shots coming through, I don't know if it's gonna be enough time.
Still 58 below. First of the 2 medkits are gonna come out. Still need a few players to go down before he saved the Storm Surge, and almost means the second one being used rather quickly. He has to rotate. 149. Teeny's there. This is his opportunity to try to get some shots now that he has some elevation and he can look back towards the zone. No real opportunities to be found for Yanis. But so Cammy ends up in his line of sight. Shimoki as well almost became a target. Blessing in disguise for Yanis, but he's still below the threshold.
Now, Grapple Blade put to good use. He finds an option, but it's too risky as Yanis now just 6 builds left. Impact is needed, crucial, as he's put into panic. 50 below. Surge will start ticking shortly. If he's unable to do more damage, he sees Reason below. He sees all these players flying through the sky, but it's gonna be 68 damage. 18 now is all he needs.
barely is able to get above. A couple of shots like that is going to give him a little bit more room in terms of comfortability before he goes to the front side yet again. Doing wonders here as a solo, but a refresh is going to have to come through. Out of materials, out of resources. Voco's Vortexers, first one's on the high ground, but Vidil on that mid layer. He could be the one, along with Reason, to try to take over that high ground.
Yanis taken out. Cammy still staying strong as a solo. 63 builds to work with. Medkit, Mythic, Flowberry has everything to continue clutching.
This could be his opportunity, but time is slowly but surely running out. Reckless Railways give him a little bit of separation with those builds that are already there. Reason, Vidil still battling for that high ground, but a lot of damage has been taken. They're going to get pushed further and further down low thanks to Vortexers and Voco.
Could this be it? Will they want to go for the high ground? Vortexes and Volco holding strong, but for how long? As there's only 7 builds left for Volco. Chop down now. Opportunity arises for their opponents as they build up. It's Axe Force looking to take it.
That was his chance. Roban's there to back him up. Volco doesn't have any builds. He cannot keep getting up higher and higher. He's going to have to let the fight come down to him, and that's exactly what came through. Vortexers did a good job of battling both Axe Force and Roban down, and even elimination happening to the backside of zone, but he wasn't able to get the mats. He's out of mats and out of time.
Cammy still up though, 4 elims to his name now, 18 builds as he continues to clutch as a solo, but boom, eliminated. Vidil, 5 on the board, Reason knocked down.
That's the med kits that he was able to found, and immediately starts putting them to work, trying to stagger himself back, get a couple more placement points. Vortex's Voco, they had high ground, and they're doing a good job of holding on to it, but both of them are weak. Slivers of HP, only shield to get passed around.
Ping, 1 shot away from securing an elimination. He does it. No medkit picked up though as he's continuing to build out. Mats are running low. It is a full duo down below. It is a full duo up above. The 2 versus 2 as Volco gets cracked.
That is a big shot, but Mixon goes down. It's all up to Pings. No HP, no builds. Grapple plating to high, but it's not enough. A huge shutdown for Vortexers and Voco to take game 3. And they were the team Takada that was able to not only grab high ground, but finally hold on to it to the very end.
A crucial hammer pump shot to secure them the victory royale. They were contested through the late game. People time and time again trying to take the high ground from them, but they were landing their shots. They were connecting what needed to be connected, and from that, they got the win.
Yep, that team that you were talking about battling for the high ground, Roban, Axe Force, they were immediately dethroned and sent back to the lobby to watch this masterpiece. They knew they had their opponents down. They knew they had them out. They wait for the grapple blade, and 2 well-placed shot ends that run. Voco Vortexers have finally awakened for their slumber.
We have not seen a single heal off today. It's been non-stop action in these final moments. You can tell the level that this lobby is at.
Yep, but this is it. Game 3 is over. We finally have reached the halfway point of day 1 of the EU FNCS. I'm going to throw it on over to analysts to let us know where everybody stands on that leaderboard.
Thank you very much. I am really looking forward to finding out who has made it to the top after such an intense battle. And Volco and Vortexers were already comfortable within the top 10, top 5 even. So surely that's going to be taking them all the way to number 1. We've got to just wait a little while our elves check everything out, make sure everything's fair before we bring you that leaderboard. Yeah, elves. Because we come from, we've got a broadcast team in Copenhagen. I think they have elves there. I don't know, but any country that has
I never saw any
cold bits, I associate with elves. I hope that I haven't offended anyone in the Blast production team. And if I have words with me after we break down what happened in that game. Because, I mean, Volco and Vortexers, they're continuing this high ground legacy. If you're able to fight off the Vikings that come your way, it's yours for the taking, Mini.
Yeah, they're not typically a team that we've seen on a height too much in these sort of level lobbies this season. I was quite surprised when I saw them take height there. They are opportunistic, of course. They will do it. But it seems like that was the play style that worked for them in the open qualifiers and brackets like that, for example. So I'm interested to see how they're going to develop their play style for this weekend, because I think they just saw an opportunity and they took it. And I mean, they took it very well, of course, as well. They're just a fantastic team that have just performed very well recently in terms of their mid-game strategy. So it's good that they got to that end game and they just took the opportunity to take height, even though it's not necessarily like them.
Yeah, honestly, that was what I was thinking as well. Just because, you know, I mean, we saw in the first game they had a good game, and it looked like a, you know, sort of Volco and Vortex's game from this season. You know, where they were a lot lower down, but still making things work. A bit scrappy at times, but again, you know, you push through and you get a top 5. That game again was just not what I was expecting, but it's a good sign. I mean, if you're a fan of them, the fact that they can give you this type of game when it comes, I mean, it tells you everything you need to know about them as a duo and what they can do in this kind of lobby.
Yeah, I think it was just that mid-game for them as well. We've spoken about it a little bit. I know I've spoken about it a little bit throughout this season. Just being able to get that forecast tower sometimes, giving them the intel on where that next zone is going to be, just allows them to position themselves in the optimal position. And in this sort of in this game, it just didn't seem like anyone was really up on height and dominating too well. It wasn't really one of those games that we've seen in the first 2 games where we've seen a team that have, you know, taken height early, then held onto it and done very well at that. It was a bit of a mismatch of an endgame there.
To be honest, though, also, if you look back, even at the names in that replay, we do have names that we're used to seeing in grand finals, but not necessarily names that we would expect to win. And this is the interesting thing that's happened so far this evening. Some of the big hitters have gone down really, really early. Thomas and Queasy in that particular game, Vico and Pink as well. I mean, we know the reason, though, that Vico and Pink are struggling to launch sometimes, I guess, Levin, because they have got a hotly contested game plan, because they are going for those forecast towers against Cadeau and Kiro. So it's a risky maneuver and risky strategy, and sometimes it's not paying off for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected that to be less 50-50, right? You know, both teams are going to land, loot up, and then go fight for the forecast tower. That game, straight 50-50, right? And Vico and Pink sort of got, you know, bested there. So, again, not the kind of games we sort of were expecting there in that regard, but we'll see sort of how they bounce back from that. And again, similar situation with Queasy and Thomas. We said it literally in the segment before. You know, these guys are contested. They're not going to get every game to show what they can do. So they have to use the games they have and make them count.
And Mixon as well, second place for those guys, moving them up the leaderboard there, 22 places. So we're still at that stage of the event right now where one big game can really turn the tournament on its head for you in a favorable way. Seti and Cammy as well. Cammy doing such a good job solo clutching there. We've seen that happen for this duo more often than not this season, it seems like. And I'm kind of worried about that for this duo, because we're used to seeing them being so connected almost as a duo, never just separate and as solo. So although he did do an incredible job at actually clutching here, I want to see more from this duo when it comes to that mid-game prowess that we know them for.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it's there's been so much to talk about that. It's something that we haven't really touched much on so far. But like, when you're talking about favorites for the whole competition, a lot of people again have had Cammy and Seti in terms of looking at the best teams in the world. Who's been the most consistent of those, you know, traditional big names in EU? You would have probably given it to Cammy and Seti, right? So, you know, again, they're a team that many people expect to do well in this competition, but it's been much of what we've seen from them this season. It's been disjointed. That's never a word you would have ever associated with Cammy and Seti in the past. So it's, you know, wishful thinking to think all of a sudden they'll piece it together now for finals, but you just have to hope the solo clutches keep rolling through.
I'm wondering, guys, about the victory royales this season, and I know it's hard to tell from the qualifiers because day 1 and day 2, qualifiers, I should say, semi-finals, day 1 and day 2, we had get a victory royale and you get all the way to the grand finals. But I feel like this time, this finals is not necessarily going to be won by a team that's got a victory royale, because there are duos that we do look to for consistency, and the teams that do take it all are struggling, as I said earlier, Levin. So I don't know if I'm on the money with that one at all. Maybe I'm not, but maybe we'll have to see, because we are ready for game 4. So we're going to head to our casters, Takata and Jacob PR. Take it away, boys.
This is it, Takata. The halfway point for day 1 is finally over. And typically, if this was a 6-game tournament, I would be talking about the way you play the rest of the day matters so much. And I got to ask you, this being a 12-game format, how important is the second half of the day?
Oh, it's especially crucial in terms of the format not only being 2 days, but also the point multipliers. I mean, increasing for day 2. It's 1.5 times the points you get day 1 in the second day of tournament. 6 points per elimination instead of 4. It's going to make it, I mean, it's going to make changes in the leaderboard.
I gotta go ahead and ask my resident pro player, the guy who carries me in ranked all the time, what you think about some of these things. And I think Storm Surge, another one of the big changes that we're seeing, really affect the action around the lobby. Teams in certain scenarios are forced to go for that surge a little bit earlier, and in some cases even later in the game than what they used to. And you're seeing it really affect some of these fights, especially those in the late game. But game 4 is ready. You heard the battle bus. Let's jump into it.
3 matches left for the day. Will Mongol and Savage be able to turn the tables around and come out on top in the early game? Is Pink and Vico gonna go for that 50-50 once again against Kiro and Cadeau? So many early engagements, but it looks like there's been a change. Pink Vico no longer dropping down below where the forecast tower is. They're actually dropping on the hill. And look at this, Jacob. From the clouds, flying in. Is this gonna be enough to come out on top?
Now, they definitely have the shields, so depending on what they find on that low ground, Pink Vico, they know all too well what kind of loot is going to be down there. Crash pad yet again, a chance to sneak up onto one, but he sees that one coming. Nice shots being landed. Vico doesn't back down. He gets the first knock onto Kiro.
Now, with the upper hand in this battle, Cadeau is forced to make a difficult decision. Does he go for the 1 versus 2? He's farming up, maximizing the amount of materials as he knows there's no more time to run. Vico, Pink now, take the shots, but you gotta be careful. Pink gets cracked. They're low on materials. Cadeau should have more in this situation, as now they tried to do a cheeky little crash pad play, but with the frenzy shotgun in hand, it's gonna be a 63, but it's not enough to get the Elim 1v1.
The timing just wasn't there. Vico goes in just a little bit too ahead of himself. Now Pink is forced to kind of battle it out, and he doesn't have a shotgun. This could get dangerous. Breaks into the first box. Shotgun or no shotgun, he doesn't care. And Cadeau stands tall yet again. Back-to-back games taking out Pink and Vico off spawn.
You could not be losing those engagements when so much is on the line. I like the kind of game plan change, though. Switching up their drop, trying to find a new way to come out on top. It's all about adapting in Fortnite competitive. But you have to do it quickly if you're trying to make those changes in day 1. You'll have a bit more time to study in between day 1 and 2, but right now, it all has to be done in the moment.
Finally, we jump on board this fight and over towards Lavish Layer. And so far on the day, we've seen very, very quick interactions between the two teams, and with Queasy and Veno getting pushed off in that last game. You've seen take a different approach here, making sure to loot up the bottom, kind of work their way top to bottom, then kind of work their way back on up, get as many of the resources as possible. A lot of those trees inside near the NPC is going to give you quick materials in terms of that wood. And without an angle just yet for Queasy and Thomas, they're going to go ahead and continue to play a slow game. But Noah, oh my gosh, that was a quick replay. He got 2.
2 quick elims. Aim as strong as ever. As Thomas HD and Queasy have a bit more time to breathe now. In the previous match, once again, the engagement was finished off quickly with Thomas HD being knocked down and eliminated. Queasy forced to leave and do what he could as a solo. But now that both players are up, shields in hand, materials and weapons, it's going to be a bit more of an even engagement.
The longer they take here, we know all too well. You see Vbucks on the other side. Misha Teeny break into the box onto Chari. Take him down rather easy. Gears has no choice but to disengage. You see him at the bottom of your mini-map trying to get out, stay alive. Misha Teeny scavenging all the barrels, all the loot. That's something that, you know, this team does so well. Cut off people who have, catch them off guard, find eliminations where you at least expect them to.
Waiting for that forecast tower. So far, no more opponents in sight. As Tace and Veno gliding on through, skiing down the mountain now. They have came in for third parties on Pink and Vico in previous matches when they were kind of staggering out the engagement with Cadeau and Kiro, which is part of the reason, most likely, that forced them to try and speed up those battles. But it looks like even though they know the engagement has ended, they might be the ones this time around that want to contest the forecast tower, but I might have spoken too soon as Tayson drops down low.
And they contested it in game 1. Unfortunately enough, that's when Pink and Vico took that card on a wild goose chase. Game 2, Kirio and Cadeau almost uncontested over there on that side of the map. But this time around, Darky and Darkest looking like they're ready to fight for it. And it's only a solo that they're going up against. So great odds here for Tayson and Veno to try to third party and sneak away with something.
Have they taken it as Darky continue their pursuit for Yanis? Put up as a solo. They won it, Jacob.
Yeah, and this is the team right here. They already took down Flixie. You see they have that mythic hyper SMG in their inventory. That's where they're able to get that for themselves. Darky's still chasing Yanis on the other side, forcing a game of ping pong as he rotates back on over. But Cringe and Noms, I saw it in the feed. Queasy Thomas did go down over towards Lavish Slayer. A huge blunder for their game plan yet again, but Yanis trying to save the day. Currently positioned in fourth. For him to go down here will be disastrous for their consistency.
Do they know? Yanis crouched up in the corner, praying right now. Then a miracle comes through. It looks like they haven't found him. As the last thing you want to do in a lobby like this is waste time. But sometimes you're forced to just wait out a little bit, which is exactly what's happening to Yanis here. As it looks like Bevy's Pablo also getting closer and closer.
Yeah, everybody kind of rotating in that direction. Classy Courts over here towards the north side of the map. And you can see the edge of zone over towards Classy Courts. So you have the potential to kind of center up this game versus being either far to the left or the eastern side of the map, mixing in pings. Kind of see where they're positioned on the leaderboard, just outside of that top 5. And they have Sky Dune in their line of sights. Multiple players all around this, but they're just waiting for somebody they can catch off guard, and that could potentially be them.
Reason for deal now. Deciding to rotate a bit later into zone. Securing those materials on the rotate. I think they saw a heal come through on the train. They know that there's some players. You cannot build while you're on it. As they quickly jump off to build some walls, and now with the HP and shield advantage, Reason for deal want to take this engagement.
And already they have the advantage with a couple of those shots that they've landed. They separated the two players, going different directions. Vidil is hot on the heels for one. He knows that just a sliver of HP is going to be left, and Robin's going to go down. Vidil makes that one look easy. And they have that hammer pump, the mythic hammer pump from Snooty. So already their game and their loot is off to a great start. Reason's going to be hot on the chase for the only one that's going to be remaining left. But Vidil went down to somewhere. Gotta imagine a snipe because that's Lox who took him down.
A duo partner came in for the third party. Reason was split up, now still in his 1 versus 1, but he must be thinking, what does he do now? He can finish this off, but after that, there's a whole other duo close by.
Almost worst case scenario. Now no choice but to go. End up with a frenzy versus frenzy battle on the other side. Reason was able to come off on top, get the med kits, more than enough shield. And since you see that team in the mini map disengaging off of where they got the elimination onto Vidil, you know he's going to be able to, at the very minimum, grab that reboot card.
The good news is, I believe there's even more than 3 med kits. We saw some left over after he picked up that initial stack, so he'll have the time to kind of bring his duo partner back in the match, but the issue is it's going to take so much time that once they eventually get into zone, they're going to have to kind of make a comeback. Cammy, similar situation, but we've seen what he's capable of, even as a solo. Was able to clutch so many points in one of the previous matches. Is now, it looks like he's put in a similar situation once again.
14th place, not bad for setting Cammy to be in. But for what we know what they're capable of, I feel like this is just the start of something special. If Cammy can get Seti's reboot card back on in. Caden, Diox just rotating, Flowberry Fizz, Crash Pad, a combination from both. They just want to cover as much distance as possible and beat a lot of the teams to the position in towards zone. Rightfully so, 164 points. They're sitting cool in second place.
Mixing ping. On the other hand, with a duo close by, it's CZB Nathan fighting for that combat cash. Once again, the forecast towers should have been captured by this point. And the next objective here, it's combat caches, it's Rift Island. Which one are you going for? As Mixon securing to kind of take these shots at medium range. Nothing too risky. As all he really wants is to use up the time, get that combat cache, and in the meantime, maybe even a bit of damage. Game 1 victors close behind them. Arya and Loki kind of seeing if they have any options here as both players continue to take their shots.
See, they're just biding their time, waiting for the perfect moment. And CZB trying to disengage. They're going to take that as a green light. Some shots going to land, but Arian taking some shots himself, turning around, trying to reunite with his teammate, break into the box onto CZB. The damage is there. The knock comes through, but it is going to be a trade. Nathan did wonders to battle back and at least get a knock in his favor. Loki, no choice but to try and disengage. He noticed that second team was there, and he doesn't want to bite out more than he can chew, but guess what? They're on the chase. Pings and Mixon, they want this elimination.
Loki breaking the crash pad that he used to rotate with to try and stop the players from chasing him down, but with only a couple shots needed to connect from Ping or Mixon, they have everything they need. And there it is, another elimination. First one actually for the duo picked up here.
A big moment for them. As you see, they were trying to sneak up on a team. Everything paid off. They got their one elimination. A little bit of a refresh in terms of shields and a lot of the healables, but very, very light on materials from where they would like to be. Vanyak and Sined rotating over towards Reckless Railways. They know somebody else is nearby, but I don't think this is a time for them to get aggressive unless they know that he is a solo, which he is not.
Oh, be careful. If you get cracked, that's almost like a opening for the opponents that were taking shots, or even the duos that were boxed up around them, as they know they instantly have an upper hand in what could be a battle. But so far in the Reckless Railways, it's a lot of people that have kind of built their bases on top of a building as they can replace the brick and the walls to replenish those materials that they used up.
See, just looking around, they escaped one fight, trying to gather information. Everybody else gathering a lot of the loot they have from the cache. Extra heals here. So in theory, Puchik, Swizzy could trade shots for Surge without the worry of taking too much damage because they have the extra shields right behind them from that combat cache. But they still have some distance to cover before they are in zone, and they're targeting two teams on the other side of that landscape, just trying to go ahead and have some of those Thunderburst shots break through the builds and get some damage for their Surge.
Fourth zone. 66 players up. More players are getting eliminated throughout this match as Sky forced to build up. Putrick, Swizzy do not want to lose a lot of shield or HP here, but they know that his duo partner is a bit split. Grapple Blade is going to be the savior to group them back up as Swizzy now decides to rotate along the side here, not going directly in. They're still not inside of the zone, and they can assume that there are going to be some duos looking back at them. So they do not want to spend too much time here, but as they get closer and closer, it makes me think maybe they do want a bit of aggression. Is it just recuperating with the combat cache left over? Do they want that lock-on pistol? What is it that they're looking for?
Yeah, they got their scraps stolen right there. Just talking about all the shields and resources that they did have left over. Putrick was luckily able to find another weapon cache that was kind of left over and scavenged to get the big pot that they need to get them both back up to 200 effective shield and HP. Sky and Scroll are going to be the ones to try to rotate first towards the right. But if you see Rift Island, where Malibuka and Mustache are positioned not too far from, zone is going to pull so far away. Maybe not in this zone, but in the next zone. That's where it typically tends to happen. So Malibuka and Mustache is very, very important here for them to gather all this intel of where players are currently positioned at. So when they make their rotation over, it's as easy as possible.
Once again, we do have some duos already based up on the Rift Island, below the Rift Island along the natural rifts that do appear. Malibuka Mustache, though, saying we don't need rifts, we don't need launch pads, we've got our grapple blades. We can rotate on foot. As I see from afar, yeah, it's King, it's Phaser. They're up against Tayson and Veno. This is an engagement that a couple seasons ago you would have never imagined having King and Phaser being from the Brazil region, now up in Europe. I believe they made it to the late game in the last match. They've had some troubles with Surge in the first couple. Have they learned from their mistakes? Have they been able to adapt is the question here.
And that's something that I'm kind of eyeing the rest of this game, because you don't want to be down on Surge next to Veno and Tayson, really having no other option to try to go in the box. Zone's going to close. Going drastically across the map yet again. Not too much of a worry for the players positioned on top of Loot Island. But for everybody else that has to make the rotation, it's almost better sooner rather than later. But timing has to be perfect. You go too soon, you become a focus. You go too late, you get held out. So a lot of these teams, they're already on the clock.
We talked about the Rift Island earlier on, but it's now the close, or the zone begins closing. It's going to push them out as Vadil's trying to kind of get as many materials as possible, make use of the time he has here. See if he can even find a bit of loot that's been left over. Only 2 duos here, some below. Meanwhile, the duo's already boxed up in zone. Do know that rotates are going to come through. Might even use that as an opportunity to take shots on them. For Shakoth and Skydoon, though, they're focused on positioning.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the map right now. Positioning is going to be important because we have the probability of it continuing to move over towards the east side, and we've seen so many different mountain ranges, some big, some small, some gigantic even, that players are going to have to traverse through. And if you don't plan accordingly, you will run out of materials and builds, and that's when things will become a nightmare. Skydoon, Shaco's 86 above the damage threshold. It's enough for them to feel comfortable now, but in the back of their mind, they're worried about where they're going to get their shots off at.
We are in the 5th zone. The cutoff will end at 60 players. Just 4 need to be eliminated. But Vadil and Reason, they're not worried about that. Directly into their opponent's box. Unable to find him, though. 13 above as Sined continues to fly away, to run towards the zone. Just a couple shots could be all they need, as now it's just left to 3 players trying to stay up.
This could be a great moment for them, because I did see Cade go down in the feed. Yep, Deoxy left by himself. Diox, he's going to be all by his lonesome. Luckily for him, he does have all that loot, so he can pick and choose his loadout. But Wheat, Shmoky, they're right next to him. So many teams positioned inside of Reckless Railways. They're making their way towards Reckless Railways. The biggest thing that he does have going for him is he's 300 above the damage threshold, has 3 med kits, so that way he doesn't have to make a drastic move here and get too greedy for positioning of his own.
Can he hold on? 27 seconds still. He has to make a move. What's it gonna be? Flowberry fizzes, spare loot, spare med kits, so much. Kind of like a little party he's got going on here with the amount of loot, the amount of Flowberry fizzes. It looks like he is going to be able to hold off. So much damage has been dealt, but he has a long journey ahead of him. Has the materials, has the loot, but playing as a solo always makes it significantly more difficult, especially with the level of this lobby. TD Misha, pressure's on them now. They are above the threshold, but with the shots coming through, all it's going to take is for them to get cracked, and the shots will continue.
Reason just goes in, takes down Diox. And I was going to say, it's a blessing for him in this situation, because heal-offs haven't really been too much of a thing to worry about here throughout the first couple of games. But who cares about a heal-off when you got Vadil and Reason that kind of charges into your box and they know you're solo. 4 more points for them. Positioning, moving so much closer, those placement points coming in. There's only 4 more teams need to go down before all those placement points begin to trickle in.
Lennox, Moni, 71 below, splitting up the shields, making sure they've got 100 effective HP and shield before they do anything risky. They could be forced to here. You can see they're preparing something. Is it a pre-edit? Is it a double pickaxe? It looks like they're going for a pre-edit here, trying to get in onto the Buell, but he's ready for it. He has the peak. Can he connect the shot? It connects. 17 shield left on Linux now. As the Storm Surge keeps ticking, so does the damage. It's going to be Pixel and his duo partner who capitalized on the aggression.
Yeah, that was great damage they were able to land, but they were just so far below the threshold. It just simply wasn't going to be enough. Dexy Eclipse, we see them survive already throughout the day, and what a tough situation it was, and now rewarded with the first sense of that high ground. But we've talked about being too early. This is the earliest I've ever seen a team kind of build and expend mats to try to get it. 7th zone. You know they're going to have to rotate and give that up if they want a chance to get in zone.
King, 1 elim on the board, but it's still going to put them below by 33 damage. They have spare loot. They have the flow berries, the med kits. There's 52 players up here in the 7th zone. 12 have to be eliminated as the rotates come through. Long distance to be traveled. They do have the grapple blades. They have the crash pads, but as they fly through the air, through the sky, all the players that need to do damage will be looking for them.
Yeah, you said it yourself. 12 players need to go down with the heals that they have. It is impossible for them to out-heal it. King and FaZe need to continue to figure out where they're going to get the shots. Even 22 above momentarily wasn't a feeling that they were comfortable with, but FaZe are still finding shots on that rotation. Goes above 100, but quickly falling down below. It just goes to show how active the lobby is. King peaks just a little bit too much. They spray into the box, and their run comes to an end.
Both players gone down. If you get cracked, Storm Surge, pressure is on you. You need to get out of that situation as everybody will begin focusing you. Pace and Benno, though, who have a good amount of real estate, will have those options to take shots as Reason finds one, puts him 6 above. Can he get the finish for that extra damage?
Video snuck some shots in through. I don't know how he was able to run that quick behind Reason after landing a couple of those shots, but it shows how swiftly these players are moving in and out of the build, especially when they need it most. Still 7 players need to go down before Storm Surge deactivates momentarily, and there's a huge amount of damage being dished around the lobby.
You can see Storm Surge striking from above. Players all over this 8th zone. Nobody is safe. Vortexers, Volko, they secured the first ever victory royale in an FNCS finals in the last match. Will they be able to make history and get a back-to-back as they continue landing shot after shot? Vortexers. What aim does he have as Merstash Malabuka now 27 above? They need to group up.
Yeah, what a perfect to wake up for Volko and Vortexers. Merstash and Malabuka talked about their contested fight all day long. They are doing more than just making it work. Above the threshold, still finding Merstash on of the zone, trying to see if he can spot anybody else trying to rotate in. Art Skills will be the first one in his line of sights. Even though he goes down, Merstash doesn't get credit. He's still taking teams out and putting them in a tough...
Making use of that mythic AR as he continues to apply pressure onto Nebs. This damage is crucial for the upcoming zones as it's gonna pull further and further away from Reckless. It's gonna be Chapix up above. Will the history of these matches continue today? The high ground dominance from the first moving zone all the way to the last one.
This would be the time to come. This would be the time to try to take that high ground. We still have to be careful because there are some late high ground retakes that we have seen throughout the qualification process. Long rotation for everybody involved. Max Pool, Wheat, Shimoki trying to stagger themselves back and find elimination. They see a weak to Buell and they try to go in, but 11 below the damage threshold. They cannot get greedy and over-focus on one thing. Shimoki finally backs up. That was Darky, and Dark is trying to break into the box. And finally, when they're ready to rotate, they're 8 below the damage threshold.
Fizz comes through. Mobility granted. Now rotation has to continue. 11 below, just one quick shot. Even with the frenzy, Azure in the sky could be enough. Veno, though, Tayson bumping up their elim counter to 4. As now they need to rotate. Tayson, though, low on HP. They have the heals, but do they have the time? It's Noms and Cringe now who've taken height.
Yep, and they taken down Queasy and Thomas to start the game off. Might as well take the game after that as Veno Tayson feeling a little bit of the pressure throughout the first couple of games. It hasn't necessarily went their way, but better late than never, I always say. And this is their chance to really rise up that leaderboard with a well-placed game.
Reason for deal, 6 on the board. They're on fire currently. They just need to continue the momentum. They have the materials, they have the loot. With pressure being applied from above, they're able to get ahead, building up now, closer and closer to second height. What's their game plan?
Yep, they're already in first place, or at least up top side of the leaderboard. They can go ahead and steal it away convincingly with well-placed game, especially with Cade and Diox already out. Veno still trying to go ahead and make a high ground play for himself. They chop it down, and this is their chance to not only take it, but hold on to it to the very end.
Can they maintain it is the question as the aggression continues from the players below. Vadil now with another elimination. That's 3 medkits as well in the inventory.
Skydune's gonna get taken down. 4 more points for them, but the Kings on top of the castle, they can hold on to it. CZB, he's traveling through as a solo. Malibuka's still alive, making his way through as well. So many teams trying to have a stand here in the first game of halftime, game 4 on the day.
Chemistry at an all-time high in this match with all the duos that are currently up. Merstash and Malibuka interested in what's happening in the clouds. Do they see an option? Do they see an opportunity? It's also Vadil and Reason with the same idea.
Multiple teams looking up and trying to make high ground a focal point of their strategy, but they get tagged up back. Tace and Veno putting pressure down, not wanting to let it go easy, but the persistence is there. They're gonna have to drop down eventually.
Running low on materials now. They're gonna look for those impacts. Merstash and Malibuka, they have the advantage being a duo, but can they find the solos?
Oh, no.
Merstash gets dropped down. He's taken out. Malibuka is now one of them.
It was going to be a trade. Vortexers gets chopped as well. Voko gets taken down, so it's all up to Malibuka by himself to see if he can clutch up. One, a few solos still left in the game.
Veno from above taking shots. He needs to find the win condition here. No medkits in the inventory as Malibuka continues holding on. He has that medkit in hand as CZB, Pablo, Bevies all in the dirt. Brawl.
That's the only team that's a full duo at the low ground. That's Pablo, that's Bevies. Veno, he's trying to make a play. Flowberry Fizz coming out. He drops from above. It's not going to be enough. He gets taken down by Bevies, who leave it up into a 3-player battle royal here for the end game. And 2 of the 3 teams are healing off backside of zone.
Question is, who has the most heals? Darkest, Malibuka, both. The clock's ticking. Dark is forced to move. Malibuka gets the elim. No more medkits left. It's Pablo. It's Bevies that take the win.
That is a huge win for Pablo and Bevies. They were just on the cusp throughout the qualification process where there was upper bracket, lower bracket. They did just enough to make it work. And now here in the FNCS finals, they take the game and they do it by not even going to heal off.
Veno, Tayson, they had such a dominant position up above, but they were unable to play the heal off. The 2 solos that did so were forced to do it early, and it left just Bevies and Pablo in a waiting game, taking shots at Malibuka in the last moments and securing that VR.
And there was a moment throughout that match where Pablo and Bevies in the end game were just backs up against the wall. Team trying to break into their box. They got separated. One was low, but they still managed a way to reunite and make it work to take the game. I can only imagine where they're on board. Frankie, let me know.
I will let you know as soon as I can, boys. And I can't wait to see yet again. I always say that I know, but it's always exciting to see who the movers and shakers are. And it was really exciting to see some of the big duos finally make it to the final fights and that final heal-off, Levin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was thinking we're going to go the whole Grands without a heal-off, maybe. How preposterous is that idea, right? It feels like it's all we've seen so far, but a different type of heal-off mini because, you know, we saw those teams going to heal-off a lot earlier than you typically would, right? Like, Bevies, they won the game without the zone even really closing fully, so it's like, yeah, a lot of those teams are sort of just like in shambles. Let's just heal off to try and get as much placement as possible, which definitely worked, but different type of heal-off for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't like a whole lobby heal-off like we've seen in the past. It's kind of like an individually decided, let's go heal off. Malibuka was, of course, one of those. And unfortunately for him, didn't quite work out. A little second place, though, for him. But I want to shout out Pablo and Bevies. What a fantastic performance from this duo. A duo that have had a really, really difficult season, particularly when it comes to off-spawn. And they've had a lot of trouble making these end games. When they do, when they're above Surge, when they're in those good situations, they have the good mats and the good loot to actually make something happen. They make amazing things happen. And we've seen it yet again from this team in that mid to low ground area. We've seen them go for height a little bit this season, but it seems like now if they can start to get a little bit more of that consistency off spawn coming out of that drop spot in a good way, then I'm expecting some big things from this team. They have the talent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the amount of times I've watched these guys, you know, in shambles at Hazy Hillside this season has been pretty funny, to be honest. But you know, in the grand finals, they finally sort of had a bit more of an advantage in terms of being less contested. And to be honest, Minnie, I really do think this team is one that has a lot to prove. I think they reached a really big height last year, and a lot of people sort of thought that was going to be the norm for them, and they really struggled to keep up with that expectation. And so, you know, this year in total would be a great opportunity to push themselves back into that conversation.
It's really exciting to see their plans coming to fruition. As you mentioned as well, the fact that this is a duo that's actually comfortable playing at all three levels, because my memories of them in the end game have always been to do with their successes being on high ground. Minnie, you know them a lot better than I do. So hopefully that adaptability is something that's going to take them really far. Let's check out the leaderboard though, because this is going to be a really interesting one to look at. One of the things to take note of, I think we can see there in 7th place, Janice and Flixie. To be honest, I'm surprised to see them even in the top 10 anymore, because Mini Miner, they have been struggling with the fact that the zone, not once but twice, has come to their Reckless Railways drop spot. And you would have thought that would be in their favor, but is the location of this spot being so central and being so popular with rotating teams the reason for their constant downfall? Or constant downfall, that was so harsh. Their recent downfall.
Shouldn't be.
Constant downfall.
I'm so sorry. I'm just injecting drama, boys.
You do that, Frankie. Anyway, no, it shouldn't be a problem for them, right? It should not, because they've had success when the zone is in that area. Remember it, day 2 semifinals, very first game. The zone was at Reckless Railways and they won on height. So they should have the experience and they should have the talent to deal with that situation, because a lot of people say, for context, that when the zone is on your POI, it's difficult to get surged because you don't have people rotating next. You don't rotate next to other people. Everyone's coming to you. But you should have the facilities. And I broke it down at the beginning of the show. They have the strategies to alleviate that. And for the last 2 games, it just hasn't quite worked out. I think the last game that we just saw was a little bit of a different outcome there, Levin. It wasn't necessarily the fact that they couldn't get surged. It was the fact that everyone else or other teams that now know that drop spot make it a little bit less contested for them.
Yeah, and that was one of their fears they had, right? You know, I asked Flixie, do you have any fears? He said none, right? He was very confident. Of course, the cooler, more composed, more experienced Janice said, look, the only problem we may have is if teams start to contest us, teams start coming into Reckless, which we know is possible. And you know, we're seeing that maybe a bit earlier than we would have thought. I do want to give a big shout out to the team in first place, right? Vbucks and Reason sitting there. I think that would surprise a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people thought they'd be here. But big ups to them. Reason streaming, right? Like, so, you know, this guy's live right now with like 50,000 viewers. There's a lot of pressure on him, especially when you consider the fact, Frankie and Minnie, that this time last year, chapter 4, season 1, major 1, those guys were first place, but it wasn't Vbucks and Reason, it was Janice and Reason, right? They were in first place. Day 2, they fell out of first place. And I know for a fact that was always something that Reason, you know, always look back on and went, if I'm ever in that position again, I want to make sure I don't drop it. Of course, it was a bit out of their hands being contested, but it's good to see Reason back up there fighting with Vbucks, and hopefully we can see them staying in that championship picture.
Yeah. I'm really hoping we can see a resurgence for Thomas and Queasy, because they've got what it takes, but it's not going right for them at the moment in their early games, Minnie.
Yeah, it's not. I think that's why a lot of people wouldn't have put them in their top 3 predictions for this FNCS. Not that they're a bad team, not that they can't do it, not that their drop spot's not good, it's that the other team are contesting them, and it's Noms and Cringe who are doing a decent job of that so far. They're ruffling their feathers. It's not like an easy fight for Queasy and Thomas, and even in the end game, we saw Cringe and Noms having a very decent end game, so it just shows that they're not likely to switch drop spots if they're getting absolutely destroyed at that store.
Oh, right, well, let's see what happens in game number 5. I don't know why I'm so anxious about these games. I just want all the duos to survive off spawn, but that's not how Fortnite works. And to be honest, it's a good thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't get the drama that we deserve, and we're hopefully going to get it in game number 5.
You want everybody to stay up off spawn, Frankie? Look, I'll tell you right now, that's not happening. Pure chaos action is what we've been seeing in these matches. Game 5 coming soon. Just 2 more matches to be played out today, but there's a whole other 6 matches tomorrow. It is a 2-day competition for these grand finals. And my question, Jacob, is, you know, what changes are these duos going to make going into day 2? And even what changes are they going to make going into these last 2 matches of the day?
Yeah, I can only imagine some at the top of my head. And the first one is that forecast tower. Even though we have seen some fights go down around the forecast tower, some of them are going through uncontested. Will that trend continue? The second to last game of the day starts right now.
Pressure is on for all the duos in the lobby. A lot of them contested right off the start of the match. 3 duos contesting fencing fields, multiple battling their position in the forecast towers. But we're starting with Reason and Vidil, our #1 duo currently on the leaderboard. Will they hold on to it?
By a decent margin as well. 31 points so far. Especially coming in from second place. Their consistency right now is literally insane. And already just looking at their loot at the start of this Snooty Steps drop, they got the purple hammer pump. So already they could take a fight against Pixie and Wox as long as they can get another good shotgun. But contested fight after contested fight, Peak and Vico return back to their original drop spot, and it's worked out so far. They get the first knock onto Kiro, leaving Cadeau by himself.
Vico picked up that frenzy auto shotgun, putting them in the position to have the upper hand on this battle, as Cadeau was trying to stay up above, but Vico is going to be able to finish off both players here. And now they're going to get a shot at redemption. Forecast tower should be theirs if Veno and Tayson do not decide to contest it. And we'll see if they can continue it to the late game.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, though. It's that forecast tower specifically that's garnering a lot of attention from new duos each and every single game that does pass. But see Tino in the feed taking on both King and Phaser. Yet again, their struggles go ahead and continue. But honestly, coming all the way around the world is huge for them. As Queasy and Vino look for redemption against Noms and Cridge, who took the fight to them very, very early on that last game.
Lavish Lair, it's always important to stay elevated. When you're dropping against your opponents, you want to land the top side. We switch quickly on over. Mr. Savage Mongrel. Can they come out on top this time around? They've had a rough start to the tournament. But with still a whole other day to be played out. 2 more matches today. A comeback is always possible.
Yeah, and as soon as they finally win their first exchange, that Lox and Lazen contest and move over in this direction yet again, and there's another team on top of the mountain, a 4th party coming in, there's a 5th party on the outskirts, so Savage and Mongrel cannot catch a break here in the day, but sometimes the respect is earned, it's not given. Doesn't matter what accolades you have of the past, it's all about the present, and nobody's really showing them the respect on this drop spot so far.
You can even see the 3rd parties who are interested. They know, hold on a minute, nobody's gotten eliminated yet. They must be still taking shots back and forth. Is it going to open up an option for us to interfere? As Mongrel and Savage quickly realize this and decide it's not worth it to continue trying to find those elims, as they're going to just drop back down to the little kind of turtle base they've made and continue refarming materials.
Which is good for them to try to survive in this situation. But everything for them is going to be halted. There's only a limited amount of materials, limited amount of loot that they're able to gather in this position. So very, very interesting to see how, if, when even they're going to be able to kind of make it out of their drop spot. And if they do, are they going to be able to do it unscathed?
Once again, Malabuka Merstash been almost given the vault here in fencing fields. They've gotten the mythic loot, the medallion. Starting off a game with all this loot, all these materials, all this ammunition, really just sets you up for success in the mid game if you're able to capitalize on it. But it's not like the duos just instantly disengage. They're still in the surrounding area. They're still kind of interested to see if anything can come from it.
This is a tough situation to be in. But not too tough, though. Malabuka Merstash practicing against the contested drop spot, things going their way more and more each and every single game. Pink Vico, they won that contested fight. Surprised to not see them boxed up over towards the forecast tower this time around, but if it's not working, I feel like they're making the right move here, is trying to switch things up the best that they can.
Trying to fish up anything they can. The floppers, the shield fish. They do have those shield breaker EMPs. They can do it more efficiently. As we can see, Hen and Ski once again based up, elevated, looking around at their opportunities. But so far, if you look at the mini map, it's not like there's a lot close by.
Yeah. For them, they just kind of positioned up over here towards the forecast tower. This isn't the first time here on the day that they've been able to kind of claim it uncontested even. Nobody's really rotating in this direction, and towards this side of the map, there isn't too many teams contesting each other. So they're probably just looting up, going on their merry way. Pink and Vico, the bout face, they go back for their own forecast tower. So already 2 of the 3, they've been achieved.
Robin getting knocked down. His duo Madax, though, where are you? Looks like he's boxed up right beside him. It's going to be Mongrel, Mr. Savage, who are taking the engagements. And Savage is able to come out on top, but for how long? As the third parties come through. IR Boffo and his duo partner. I mentioned it earlier, but Boffo actually hadn't competed in an FNCS finals for over 1,200 days before this. Just like Mongrel, as now Mr. Savage with only 50 shield, 8 HP. Can he get that blessing, that miracle to make it out of the situation, especially against a titanic duo like Merstash and Malabuka?
He's able to buy himself some time, disengage with a crash pad, but going back in the direction of his original drop, which is already looted down to the scraps by multiple teams, not even just the ones that land at that POI. Malabuka and Merstash, now that they're not having to fight off players at fencing fields, are now going to have to go on the lookout to where they're going to get the surge from, and that's why you see them pressing against a lot of these teams into the distance, even taking some shots onto Mr. Savage, who's once again able to escape and disengage, but right into the hands of Prism and Casper.
It's going to be a rough match for Mr. Savage here. I'm not even sure if he has Mongrel's reboot card, as he's going to have to kind of spend his time refarming, relooting until he has a safe option to pick up Mongrel once again. Shimoki and Wheaton, though, on the other hand, full duo to work with, but there are so many opponents close by. Veno on the hill in the bush. Payson continuing to rotate through. Neb's eye drop getting ahead of the pack, as Wheaton Shimoki quickly will continue on their rotate.
Wheaton Shimoki, wouldn't necessarily say they're having a quiet game. You see they're on the leaderboard in 4th place, but it's not necessarily flashy, and that's the thing. You don't have to be flashy as Pink Vico. They take down Flixie, separated from Yanis already, and now he's stuck here as a solo, just on the edge of the zone. Nobody really there to kind of disrupt this and kind of a blessing of disguise in the form of a third party, so he has no choice but to try to disengage on out by himself. Pink's going to put down some of that suppressive fire. Vico's going to be on the chase, and they see this as 4 free points, and points that they need, because where they're positioned at on the leaderboard doesn't necessarily scream comeback for day 2.
Vico and Pink controlling this fight, as now it looks like Yanis has been forced for a quick bathroom break. You know, sometimes you got to do it in the middle of the tournament. But the question is, are they going to keep chasing him down? We talked about the forecast tower. I mean, once they got the elims on Cadeau and Kiro, you'd think they have it free. But Case and Benno sometimes are interested. Yanis Flixie as well. And it looks like they were able to get it, but it led to, once again, another battle.
You ask yourself, what did it cost to go ahead and get that forecast tower? Is it worth it? Because there is another game right after this, the 6th and final game for day 1, and the official halfway point of the EU FNCS Grand Finals. Side drop Nebs just all the way on the outskirts, trying to get their combat cash. Only 2 teams even have an image on the mini-map, and nobody's rotating in their direction, so it's going to be continued smooth sailing for iDrop and Nebs through this next zone.
Yeah, you said it. Nobody in sight here. You see Wheaton Shimoki far away. Actually going to be close. Actually, no, Mix and Ping. 6 shots in the Reaper. A lot of players on this hill. As right now, they're just kind of waiting for the engagement to come through. Will they take it or not is the question. As Swizzy and Putrick continue to drop down. It might be that they don't really need to take this fight. They know that there's another team watching them potentially. And there's no winning duo if the fight commences.
Yeah, they're just kind of waiting. They know they have that launch pad. You saw them with no grapple blade, no crash pad in their inventory. They're just ready to disengage, but Swizzy Putrick, they don't have that luxury. Nice shot to drop the shield to Blue Nex, and Swizzy looking like he was going to go on the offensive, but immediately sees that they created some distance in the form of elevation, and that's going to give him a chance to finally disengage on out. You see Mixon and Pings backtracking towards their launch pad. The lock-on pistol, he's trying to land some cheeky shots. Even though they're able to disengage and get on out, Swizzy Putrick give themselves another shot at this game.
Not locking on, but you can see Ping actually is going to pick up a player now. Once they saw Swizzy and Putrick run away, they said, okay, it's a 2v2 now. I like those odds. We'll take those odds. Going in their favor. Pablo Bevis feeling extra happy going into this match. Tried to go for a no-scope grapple blade. Not sure if this is the time, but I mean, fair play to him.
I was kind of hoping it hit secretly. You know, don't tell them. I was kind of hoping he hit the no-scope of a lifetime. But now he one stuck on the bottom of the mountain. Pablo's still hot on the chase. Other players now putting some shots in. Pablo gets sniped. He has no choice but to literally stop in his tracks, try to heal up. What they thought was free points has the possibility of escaping them, but he takes a whole turn away from the team that actually sniped. So Pablo and Bebies could have the option here to go right back on that chase, but they need to watch out for Benno and Taysom.
Yeah, you can see on the minimap, though, it looks like their opponents are doing a rotate kind of around them, not beelining it towards them. So they should be able to make it in here, and they might have just spotted a surprise little present as they slowly creep in it, get closer and closer, take the shots, get the crack, and now continue. Close quarter combat commences. One shot is all it takes. Pablo hitting it. And now that's 2 elims for the duo.
I feel like Pablo saw that one in slow motion. He had his hammer pump out the entire time, waiting for the edit to come in. And as soon as it does, quick reactions, ends that run. Continues rotating on over. All those teams in the distance heard that fight go down. You saw Chapix, his duo, slowly but surely moving in that direction. So great awareness for them to get the elimination, get the loot, and continue their journey moving forward.
Mishatini now trying to kind of take one of those back and forth box fights for the combat cash. In these situations, you might think they're just fighting for the loot. They just want to secure that extra little reward. But it's also about the damage. I mean, you know there's another duo that's going to be going for it. If you can even take some shots and do a bit of damage, it could be more than enough. Malibuka Merstash up above in this box fight.
Trying to cut
Looks
him
like
off.
they're leading it currently, but Malibuka gets cracked. Has to be careful.
Yeah, luckily for him, Merstash is there to put down the continuous pressure. They don't want to give Chapix time to heal up in this fight. All that damage go to the wayside, especially since it is a 2v1 scenario where they have a massive advantage. Nobody looking in that direction. 700 above the threshold. Things just looking so good for Merstash and Malibuka. All they have to do is end this fight, and they're already breaking in on the other side. 2 angles, better than 1. And even though Malibuka takes a haymaker, he lands a bigger one himself to take down Chapix.
Now, gonna re-heal up. They have the Flowberry Fizz. They have the extra heals from those eliminations. Vidil and Resin 295 above. Rift Island has appeared close to them. We've seen Reason and Vidil kind of interested in this location throughout these past matches as they continue to take shots on the players around. But so far, they're just going to sit by that bush. Most likely have a Rift as well in there, which they can use to rotate later on.
Welcome back. Welcome back, Flixie. Yanis was actually able to reboot him. Last we saw Yanis, he was kind of getting chased away by Pink and Vico. I do believe towards Grand Glacier. So not only has it been one true battle for Yanis to get Flixie back up into this point, they've been rotating for eons, and they're so separated right now. Yanis needs to be careful. He's the one ahead of Flixie in towards zone, trying to go ahead and IGL him. Give him a good spot they can try to get back into the game with, because 69 below the threshold in Surge is not a feeling anybody in this lobby wants to be a part of.
Be careful, though. CZB in a bush. Porhawa Vexi right below. Are they below? It looks like they are, but they're going directly in for the action. Unable to get through the build. Shots connect. on CZB, but it's not enough to put them above. Now down to 43 damage. As the pressure is on, the shots come through. They want to drop Flixie down, but he is aware. Janice gets cracked now. The opponents know they are getting ticked. They need to make something happen.
Yeah, still need a ton of players to go down here in the zone. 15 overall. They're on the edge of that Storm Surge threshold, so they believe they could try to out-heal it, maybe find some shots along the way, but nothing coming to fruition, and Yanis goes down. Storm Surge finally does him in. Flixie has to go ahead and dig deep, but he gets taken out as well. CZB out of nowhere from the bush, he strikes.
Deciding to push on through, CZB Nathan capitalize on the Storm Surge, securing that refresh, and now continuing to rotate towards zone. It's Tayson Beno as well, 528 above, incredibly healthy, looking to see if they can do some damage on these opponents that need that Storm Surge. They know they can put themselves into risky situations. It's going to be Teeny, though, who's going to take down Scroll. His duo partner as well has already been eliminated. He's forced to play it out as a solo, ultimately leading to his demise.
Wasn't necessarily a bad situation, but he needed to separate himself to pop the med kit. Benno and Tayson working on their game, adapting on the fly. 500 above the damage threshold. Their struggles for Storm Surge are no more. And there's still a whole nother couple of teams in front of them. Even if they don't get the elimination, that's more Storm Surge. One less team to worry about. Shmoky with an underground attack. Peeking through the cone, landing a good number of frenzy shots, dropping down the shield, helping in terms of Storm Surge and his survival.
He's lost weight, though. Now, it's all up to him. The pressure's on his shoulders. Is he strong enough to hold on? He is 65 above, but as the duos that need that damage continue to chase him down, he needs to find an escape route here. Crouches behind a wall. This could be enough to turn the fight around. 3 medkits, 5 minis, Flowberry Fizz, more than enough to heal back up. But the opponents know he has to be crouched somewhere here.
Yeah, they're watching every corner, making sure to clear it before they go in. And somebody just got taken out. You saw Shmoky go from 56 above to over 200 above. And I saw on the feed, Vidil might have been one of them. Prism goes down as well. The elimination feed kind of lighten up at this stage in the game, and you know exactly why. 15 teams needed to go down at one point or another. At this stage in the game, another 10 need to drop when Storm Surge activates.
6 zone. Storm now active. You said it yourself, Jacob. 10 teams. Which is it gonna be? With Reason only 14 above, having lost Vidil, there's so many solos trying to scavenge as many points as possible in this 5th match. As the rift comes through, so do the options. Does he land on top of a duo that already has a base? Does he try and find an engagement to third party? This decision is going to decide what happens for the rest of the match.
And a lot of the teams here going out after that same decision. A couple of solos. Seti's just trying to go as deep into the zone as possible where it opened up. Reason still battling for Surge. Below 81, now 56, getting a couple of shots to go through, but nothing just yet to start to build that confidence. He sees another team towards the backside of zone getting focused, so that's 2 more options for him. Lox is going to be the one, and there's a couple of shots being landed, but it's still not going to be enough to get him above the threshold just yet.
Securing those extra little shots as he's on the ground, on his knees, but even going to take the opportunity to secure the extra bit of loot. Reaper sniper rifle in hand now. One quick shot could be all it takes to put him in a comfortable position, but he's got to shoot for the consumables, for the heals. He knows he has a player close by. 39 builds to work with. Zone pulls incredibly far. A rotate is going to have to come through. Reason you cannot spend a lot of time here as he decides to go directly in for the fight, but with unable to get that elimination. Flowberry Fizz going to be popped. And just 12 seconds left until zone starts closing. He needs to begin to rotate.
Yeah, this is a tough position to be in. Seti in the same spot, but him as a solo, able to find the knock on risk. V is still somewhere around, but now he's left as a solo. You see no shields there in the distance. He's trying to make his rotation on out, and everybody here on this side of the map should. This is going to be a far pull with the majority of the lobby already making their way on over.
Seti, 143 above. It looks like we're watching a solo FNCS Grand Finals with the amount of players that are getting eliminated. Said he's going to try and go around all the players that are beelining it into zone, and it looks like it might just be successful. So far has not lost any shield on this rotate, and even might be able to get ahead.
Yeah, take note, he's not just straight grapple blading his way there. He doesn't want to get spotted out by as many of the teams as possible, trying to remain hidden. 77 damage above the threshold. That's enough for him as a solo as he moves and finds a corner in towards the zone. Probably the least congested corner where a team is currently positioned at, which could be a blessing or it could be a curse, depending on which side of the coin you look at when it comes to Storm Surge.
Looking up at the clouds. I see a Wild Thomas HD and Queasy double ramped up. Will they pull zone though? As it's pulled more north. They need to make something happen. Nice shots onto Swizzy. Looks like no elimination, but they are 264 above. And they have the highest elevation. They're at peak right now in the lobby. But Veno and Tayson aren't happy with that as they start chopping it down.
Yeah, that's something Veno is always looking for. Queasy Thomas sees that one coming from a mile away. They couldn't hold on to it regardless. They had to rotate to the front side. So they go ahead and make the rotation just a little bit sooner than they would hope. Seti's going to go ahead and try to gatekeep them out. They don't know he's a solo, so they stagger themselves, look back, try to spot out Tayson, Veno, Pootrick, a lot of opportunities, a couple of shots being landed. That's definitely going to help their Storm Surge.
209 above now.
Wow.
Man, be careful. Completely annihilated. Cracked. Left down to just the sliver. It's 30 HP as Thomas continues pushing in. Can he get into the box? He does. That's the knock.
That's the Thomas special. Using that mythic frenzy, making it look easy. Now they're going to bring the box in, gather up all that loot. They are the front side, just on the edge of the zone as well. Reason trying to do the same thing, but he's almost out of materials. He's using what he can. A leftover ramp, recycling. He's going green today.
Do they know? Just 7 builds. If the shots go on, he won't be able to handle much pressure. As Tayson and Veno, after chopping down Queasy and Thomas, now are looking to be the ones to hold on to height. They have the damage. They have the materials. Even a med kit in Veno's inventory. This could give them the win condition.
Yeah, one med kit usually just doesn't seem like enough, but the way these games have been going, very, very few heal-off opportunities. Even in that last game when it came to fruition, Pablo and Bevies are still able to come out on top without a single heal in their inventory. As Reason still trying to go through unnoticed. Luckily for him, the zone does pull back, but it's a blessing of its own, a curse in other ways, because all these teams are going to rotate, go right on over and bypass him, so he has to be careful with the minimal builds he has left.
Shots come through. Is it enough to put him above? It's not. 59 below still. Gonna be forced to medkit early here. No grapple blade. No crash pads in the inventory. Resin now has to walk towards zone. Medkit about to be used. No more heals. No more mobility. Just 3 more builds. He needs an elimination.
Yeah, take note, he's staggering himself, playing careful, looking around these corners, not wanting to get caught off guard, but in fact do the opposite, catch somebody else off guard, changing layers, trying to make the right move, because I don't think anybody's noticed him just yet, and he's sneaking up onto Queasy and Thomas. He can figure out a way to get in those builds, but I do think he has no choice but to kind of go around them instead of through, and there's going to be his opportunity, and the last of his builds going to be used.
Another duo close by. He needs to find a solo. Those are the best odds for getting that elimination, but Reason gets knocked down. Pablo Bevies wanting to make a back-to-back. 4 elims already. Solid layer, continuing to stay ahead.
They were 31 points to start this game, ahead of second place, and still so many placement points on the board to be grabbed. Tayson has the high ground. Thomas, Queasy, they're doing fine on the low, staying ahead of everybody else and building full on tarps just to try to make sure that this water that they're traveling over is going to be little to no worry.
Players who are running out of materials are dropping down in the water now as Veno's high ground is getting contested. Is Tayson going to be able to hold on strong? No, it's Shakeoff. It's Skydude who've taken it.
Yep, and it doesn't look like Queasy is going to be able to look back and kind of target it just yet. Veno can't do it either. Tayson and him, they just go to the front side of the zone. They still have the grapple blades and the flowberry fizz, so getting up this mountain isn't going to be too much of a worry for them, but they still want to target that high ground. They don't want to let this victory royale go for free, and now they target it towards the back. Nice shots by Veno, but he loses Tayson along the way. It continues as he has one more player in his line of sight. That player is going to get knocked, and a double elimination coming through for Veno.
3 medkits, forced to start to heal off early, has the grapple blade to continue and get back up the ridge, but it's Malibuka. Queasy's been knocked down. Merstash up on the high ground. Thomas as well, popping the heal off. Everybody is doing it early.
It's his chance, but he's getting targeted. Heal off is going to get canceled. He gets taken down overall. Merstash gets dropped, leaving Malibuka by himself. But this is something we've seen Malibuka throughout this FNCS, his ability to solo clutch.
He needs the medkits, though. He needs to find some heals. So many players are still down below. He's looking for these options. Where are the heals? Where are the medkits? Does he just go for the engagement as this one duo down below, still up and healthy? Mixin, though, in the zone. Malibuka taking shots as now he goes up for the shot, unable to connect it, holding on just 4 more builds.
He does a good job of blocking off Mixin, feeding him to the wolves on the low ground. Chari Gira, 6 eliminations so far, but Malibuka not going down without a fight. He tries to go ahead and slingshot his way back into the zone, but gets denied entry. There goes a big game for Giris and Chari.
Great way to secure the VR, and Malibuka, gotta commend him as well for staying up as long as he did. He didn't have that win condition in terms of the med kit, so he was just trying to get the elim, trying to stay up for that second place, put himself into a 1 versus 2, back-to-back second places. But that is more than enough to bump themselves up the leaderboard.
Yeah, and even though Merstash was down, he did so much damage on the backside of zone to both Veno and Tayson. He got credit for not one, but both of those eliminations. 8 more points for him, but that just made Chari and Gira's job that much easier to take the game.
Huge boost in momentum for the duo. From just having that chemistry, I mean, we saw how many solos were forced to clutch out this late game. Storm Surge is really affecting these mid-game battles and just forcing these duos to play as a solo.
Yep, but that's going to be it for Game 5. Going to throw it on over to Analyst Dex to break down all the action and to see what we have coming up in our final game of the day.
Thanks, guys. You know what? Just looking at the names that were making it to those final fights, I feel all nostalgic. It's like we're back in chapter 4 again, boys. And I was absolutely loving it. Props to Merstash and Malibuka for getting that back-to-back second place. But Giras and Chari were the ones to take it all. This is a sneaky beaky duo. They are no stranger to a victory royale in a grand final mini-minor.
Yeah, nice victory from these guys. It's what we like to see. This is a duo that we don't necessarily get to talk too much about when it comes to top-level EU competitive. When we spoke to Giras going into this grand final last weekend on the show, and he was pretty calm about his chance. He was pretty calm about potentially being contested. I think this time they're uncontested, so they're having a little bit of, some problems maybe managing that storm surge. But it seems to be working out for these guys so far, and it's what we like to see. Playing that low, really, really difficult zone to actually manage there as well, Evan, going up over this hill and then back down over there as well.
Yeah, those sort of final zones or final sort of moving zones can be really tough to handle, right? When you're trying to go up that elevation, and a lot of times you ain't got much mats, but they stayed together, they stayed on it, and when you're able to connect the shots like this, you'll get good results that come from it. Again, like Frankie sort of alluded to, they're the kind of team that they have so much experience that they will sneak up on you and get a win here and there, and make you start to think, make you start to wonder. But ultimately, a really, really important game for them to sort of get into the back end of the day.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where we're at, because we've only got one more round for tonight. Day 1 of our grand final. Video and reason, it wasn't the best result for them in terms of a game, but they're clearly doing things the right way, should we say, 11, given that they've held on to that top spot.
Yeah, we saw reason towards the end there, right, as a solo, just holding on in that game, right? And it's always going to be hard as a solo trying to clutch up in these types of lobbies. But, able to hold on to first place, which is really nice for them. Of course, Malibuka Mustache with back-to-back second places now. They are sitting way up there in second place, and it's funny seeing them there, Mini, just because there was a lot of gamesmanships among their peers and their competitors throughout the week, right? You know, there's this thing a lot of pros do where they'll just say, you know, about other pros, yeah, these guys are guaranteed gonna win. Like, there's no way they can't win FNCS. They have the best drop, the best everything, and a lot of people were doing that to Malibuca and Mustache, even where it might not be true, trying to get into their heads a little bit. But clearly they're not letting it affect them. They're doing really well here.
Yeah, that might have been some of my favorite bits of content on socials going into this weekend, was all the different teams trying to uncurse themselves and try and like curse another team almost. We saw Janice getting involved as well. Venno was definitely involved. They were like, yeah, you guys are just too good right now. You're doing incredible. BloodX was getting involved as well. You know, it's like, no way you guys could throw this. And it's nice to see them not throwing it. And it's great to see that going into these grand finals as well. Because ultimately, these LAN events we have in the past, they make these guys friends, right? They make them good pals off outside of the game and off the battle bus. And when they're on it, of course, it's all about the intense battles. But it's nice to see that. Good to see Malibuca and Mustache really doing well as well, because I feel like this is a duo that's kind of gone a little bit under the radar in terms of a lot of people's predictions as the people that could win FNCS this season. So it's nice to see them doing really well, even though that zone was a favorable one for them. I still think they have more to go.
So BloodX was basically trying to curse Malibuca and Mustache when he said they were going to win. Is that what's happening?
He was trying to get into their head,
yeah,
right? Because if you tell someone your situation's so good, there's no way you don't win. Now they're thinking, oh gosh, now maybe I have to win. You know, there's a bit more pressure on you, and I think that's what people are trying to.
I am shocked to my very core. My mouth has barely been closed for the last few minutes. I'm practically catching flies here. Well, I always knew BloodX was a cheeky one, but I didn't realize he was that crafty. I'm going to be watching that man closely on the social medias. BloodX, you heard me. Let's talk, though, about Thomas, because Thomas and Queasy, while they might not have got a victory royale yet, we're seeing some promising moments from this duo. I mean, always good for an elimination, at least when they make it out of that early game, Mini-Miner.
Yeah, it is. And the way they played this endgame was really nice as well. We talked about it a lot this season. A lot of our analysis around this duo has been about their adaptability, whether it's not just a high ground team like we would expect from someone like Queasy. As you can see right here, playing the low ground layers, playing it very well as well. Of course, using that mythic shotgun to his advantage, in particular Thomas HD. So it's nice to see them putting that on show here in the grand finals. I had some questions about how well they were going to play, how they were going to play, because as you mentioned, Levin, they're not going to get that many games to make endgame, so it might almost be worth going for height. But it's nice to see they have the confidence in their low ground play style that they can play out these games even when they do make it optimal.
Yeah, I think what we saw from them that game sort of takes me back to the question I asked Queasy earlier on in the season. Is it worth it for you guys to fight and contest that lavish? And his sentiment was, look, if Thomas can have that mythic auto shotty, it is worth it. And he's showing that a lot of times today, that with that in his hands, there's not really much you can do to stop him. So really excited to see these guys hopefully find some momentum off spawn.
And Levin, if he has got that mythic shotty or legendary, then he doesn't need to take height, surely. He can just chop through the middle ground.
Well, yeah, it's more optimal there, right? In terms of just like, you know, giving him loads of situations where he can piece people up sort of in moving zones. But it doesn't mean that they have to just because of it. But yeah, it's optimal.
I like not seeing on the high ground. I get scared if I see Thomas too high. He's got too far to fall. And most of our duos have got very far to fall if they don't do well in game number 6, because it's our final game of the night. So let's head over to my favorite fallen angels. It's those devils, Jacob PR and Takata.
This has been such a fantastic day one of the FNCS Grand Finals, and I was beginning to think there for a moment that Reason and Vidya were going to run away with it, but them going down a little bit earlier than they hoped in that last game gives us one entertaining last game.
Yeah, it was a difficult zone as well. It kind of went up this ridge where if you didn't have a grapple blade and you didn't have a lot of materials, it was incredibly difficult to get to the other side. But with just one more game to be played out today, 6 more tomorrow. As a reminder, it is a 2-day competition. Points are going to be multiplied by 1.5 tomorrow. It's just going to make the stakes that much hotter.
Yeah, I'm looking at the leaderboards, and you got to give a huge round of applause. Malibuca Mustache, Venno Tayson, a little bit of a slow start to the day, but they have picked it up and remained consistent since then. With this being the last game of the day, we'll see who ends up on top. Let's start it.
It comes down to this, Jacob. What changes are we going to see to the play styles in the last match? You already have a good understanding of who rotates in your surroundings, who drops directly on your POI, or even just split. We've seen Pink and Vico make a lot of changes, but a duo that hasn't made too many, at least in terms of drops, it's Thomas and Queasy. Are they going to be the ones to come out on top in this last match?
It's going to be a good opportunity for them to start off hot, and exactly does. This Cringe goes down to fall damage. That's not something you see every day. This is truly the OG season. I know he's from NA, but Shades of Myth coming out.
A tragedy for Cringe. Sangil, though, can he get both? He knocks one. One shot from either player is all it's gonna take to end the day off. Buys from the vending machine a big pot. Shield comes through, has that hammer pump shotgun, and it looks like Vbucks is just one shot away from being eliminated. Both players are here, Jacob.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even with the big pot that Sangil was able to just take right there, still one shot is all it's gonna take. Vbucks on the other side. This is where Sangil's breaking through the build. A little bit of a pre-fire coming out from Vbucks. And this fight will continue. Both of them just need that one well-placed shot. Sangil needs to be careful, and maybe it takes two. Maybe it takes two from Vbucks there with the frenzy, but he ends up on top, giving him and Belusi another shot in this last game.
More than enough. Mustache Malabuka, once again, gonna be the players who secure this mythic loot, the medallion from the NPC boss here in Fencing Fields, and now will make their way towards the vault.
Business as usual over here towards Fencing Fields. Nothing changing too much, too drastically. Kind of splitting the drop between them and Cade and Diox, who've been performing pretty consistent outside the last couple games. But Pink and Vico, the fight against Hero and Cadeau will continue. The forecast tower is so important for their strategy, and they have a chance to 2v1, break into the box at different angles, but he is just quickly moving through these builds to dodge a lot of what's being fired at him, and still manages to fire a shot back onto Pink.
What a huge way to turn it around here. Hero Cadeau now, both with almost 200 effective HP and shield. Meanwhile, Pink is forced to hold the structures as his duo is healing up with that fizz, but you have to be careful. The longer you take, the more options for the third parties to come through as Pink continues building out. But with only 8 builds, you can even see Giannis there creeping on closer and closer.
Hopping in the distance, Flowberry Fizz, just trying to see what all this noise is about. Is it something they can take advantage of? Vico running out of builds, 5 left. Janice now shooting over in that direction, just making it exponentially harder for a lot of these players to survive. Now the high ground from Vico, shooting down from above, finally gets into the box and gets the first knock of the fight, giving him and Pink a huge breath of fresh air, but his teammate trying to bulldoze, trying to get the trade on back into their favor. He is full HP, full shield. He can make it a possibility, but Vico continuously on the run, not even giving them an opportunity to even land a shot.
Giannis capitalizing on this engagement taking so long. Now both duos and the original duel put into conflict. A crisis that they have to get out of as Vico barely making it on through. Just a sliver of HP and shield. Giannis is not going to let this one go.
And especially with Flixie, he's already down by himself. This is opportunity there. Even gets the piece control, boxes him in, doesn't want to let Vico escape. There's the opportunity. First shot's going to get the knock. Pink's already long gone, realizing we cannot fight this. We don't have material. We don't have heals. I'll come back for you on the other side.
This is going to be difficult. This is going to be incredibly difficult for Pink. One frenzy. One SMG. I mean, 11 builds. He can run into any player in the lobby right now, and it could be the end. But I mean, anything's possible, Jacob. We saw history be made in the semifinals with Malabuka's triple reboot comeback. Is Pink going to be able to do something similar?
And we've seen him do wonders before. We've seen Malabuka do the same thing. I feel like at this stage, anything is possible, even if you are a solo, especially the earlier on in the game that you are. A lot of space to work with. Zone doesn't do that much damage, so you can instantly try to go back. Aqua, Noah just kind of looting up, getting what they can, and they pulled zone early on in this game, so they really have a lot of time to work with before they have to move.
They started off incredibly strong in game 1 on height. Will they be able to do something similar in this last match of the day? Camiseti already taken out of the match. And Cadeau continuing with the aggression. 6 builds though, as Vanyak once again getting closer. Synad down below, looking for a shot, looking for an option. But Pablo and Bevies, they know that something's up.
And there you can see, after the last couple of games, they gotten themselves into top 5 position on that leaderboard, especially coming through with a big VR here in the finals. It's got to be able to keep that momentum going. Doesn't matter how many teams end up in your direction. I think they're going to be the safest ones just towards the out. Don't really have to worry about Andalex and Cadeau or anybody else pushing on over in their direction. You can see Forecast Towers now being fought for. Putrick, Swizzy, it's no longer free for them on this side of the map.
Multiple duos boxed up here on the elevated mountain. Forecast Tower NPCs have appeared, as now they have to kind of make that decision. Are they going to fully go for it? Are they going to contest it? Or do they just have it free?
Those like they're the ones at least making the risk to try to go down and make a play for it. And I do believe Putrick and Swizzy were able to capture it for themselves. There goes one Forecast Tower down. And great play for Ari and Giras to try to disengage, but as soon as we tune in, Merstash threads the needle, gets the headshot snipe onto Diox. That one's going to be easy, but shots bleeding through the builds. Casper is going to take down K. That full duo, with how well they started today, it all comes to an end in our 6th and final game where they're left on the sidelines to watch it all play out.
Game-changing shots from Merstash. Is it going to be enough to propel them up the leaderboard as Yanis now up against Pink? We saw this engagement earlier on, but Pink was not looking healthy at all. Now he has picked up a few shields. He's recuperated what he's lost, but can he recuperate that elimination? Yanis looking to see if he can get a pre-fire. Has the upper hand in terms of materials, but not in terms of damage. Both players now cracked, as it's an even playing ground.
Yeah, Yanis trying to go for a cheeky side jump, trying to catch him off guard, but no success. Looks around, even sees Phaser up top. That's King and Phaser hunting down this position slowly but surely, threatening the third party. I don't know if Pink got the memo because he's trying to escape. The fight will continue. Another shot being traded off between the two. Both of them drop down to just slivers of HP, and finally King and Phaser strike, stealing that elimination away from Yanis.
Now, the pursuit will continue. King Phaser, no, Yanis cannot be that healthy. They both have grapple blades. They have the option to keep chasing here, and all they really need is a couple AR shots or one shotgun shot, and there it is. 2 quick elims for Phaser, both on solos, and even a combat cache.
And that was a huge mix-up overall, not just in this fight that they're taking here, but their overall drop spot. Even when they won, they were still struggling when it came to Storm Surge, and now they switched things up and they're on the hunt, getting a little bit more proactive in their overall game plan to try to not have and fix those worries when it comes to Storm Surge. Reason, Vidil, just trying to go ahead and rotate as smoothly as possible, even if that means going back on over towards Snooty Steps where they landed initially in this fight. You can see what their plan is. Grab these EMPs, go towards one of those vending machines, get extra gold so you can get extra heals throughout the game.
Taking a look as well on the leaderboard. Quite close on the middle half there. For Reason and Vidil, though, with 262, you know that what they want to do is just maintain that position in first place. They don't want to do anything too risky, especially in the early part of these late games. Volko Vortexers still very high up as well with that victory royale. But so far, you can see in the mini map at the bottom right, there's just a few duos around this POI, but none of them yet going for a full-on engagement. And every time I see that reflection from the sniper rifle, I almost just dodged myself here.
you take a screenshot of that, it's like what do you see moments before disaster? Just a Reaper sniper glint heading in your direction. You literally have a split second. It's like a fastball thrown right down the plate. You only have seconds to decide if you're going to swing or hopefully it lands outside of the strike zone. Zarian low-key battling it out. They won the first game of the day, continued their momentum from the lower bracket semifinals, but they get pushed off of this combat cache by Swizzy and Putrick. For now, it is going to go on over to them. So it gives them the decision if they want to disengage, give it up, or maybe stay over here and try to fight for scraps.
You can see Arya and Loken, they're interested. There's something that they want here as they continue pickaxing for a wall, doing anything that they can to potentially do a bit of damage or even take the combat cache. But for now, they've got no luck.
Still time ticking. Low-key still low towards the low ground. Swizzy trying to peek through the bush. Sniper shot narrowly missing. Swizzy has to be careful, especially with the bush able to cover up a lot of where Low-key is hiding. Multiple teams, not just the two that we're seeing here in this position. A third is going to be right on top. Low-key trading shots. Swizzy's going to land one. Back him down even more. And that's going to give Swizzy and Putrick all the time in the world to collect all this loot, figure out the loadout they want, and they still don't even have to rotate because they're still in zone.
Clock's ticking. 6 seconds until fourth zone appears. It's not like either duos have to get out of the situation either. It's more just a waiting game. What would be more surprising is if something incredibly aggressive happens. For that, they need an opportunity, whether it be a big shot from a hammer pump shotgun, a quick scope, something to crack their opponent. 68 players up. Mixon even getting a knock on the feed here. But could this be enough as the edits keep popping through, the peaks, but so far nothing to continue the aggression.
So there's that third-party team that's just being so patient on the outskirts, waiting for that fight to end. Mixon stuck as a solo, just trying to go in and out of these builds to try to stay alive. Finds a huge treasure trove of loot to try to push himself even further here in this game. That's Monier down low towards the bottom. His duo nowhere in this game, and there's 2, 3, 4 teams on the minimap looking in this direction, some still rotating. So what looks like a tough spot to be in just got harder.
Shots come through. 19 white. One more needed to connect. He gets it, but it's not enough. Mixon goes down. Now Moni coming out on top, but is it going to be enough? He gets the refresh. He gets the materials, the shields, but playing as a solo, it's going to make it that much more difficult. Mongrel, Mr. Savage now starting off strong here with 1 elimination. If they can finish the day with a big match and continue that momentum in day 2 with the point format change, it could be more than enough to have a comeback.
Yeah, for them, you got to imagine it's almost all up from here. Not really having the best day. Contested directly, then almost triple, quad contested after that with the teams looming in afterward. So can only go up from here is reason for deal. And this team here has a ton to lose if they go down early. Still 10 more teams needs to fall before even one placement point begins to come in, let alone all those other as they continue to stay alive. And they're not too far off from zone, but they are so close to 2 other teams, both behind them and in front in zone.
They see them now. Zooming in. Reaper sniper in hand. No shots being taken. As they quickly turn around. Even get a bit more elevated here. Go right back up the hill. It looks like they don't want anything. Reason and Vidil know all they really have to do is get to the late game. They don't need eliminations right now. Pablo and Bevies as well, trying to hold on to that top 5. Just a couple duos in the area. But so far, nothing to be worried about.
Tayson in the feed, taking down Monier, who would... You said it yourself. Will that elimination be enough for him to try to stay alive? And, well, the answer has been given to us by Tayson himself. No, it's not enough to outlast one of the superstars of the region. Pablo, Bevies, not too much to do for them except for wait for zone. As soon as they get that far pull, that's when they start to make their rotation on over, saving those grapple blades until when they need them most.
Going right back to where they came from at the fencing fields. They said, let's make a rotate, get a quick elim, do a bit of damage, and go right back home to where we started off. They have a good amount of materials, just missing a bit of metal. They could just rebuild on top of the building here and recuperate the materials. For Cadeau, though, no more fighting. Pink and Vico at the forecast tower, and now up against new opponents by the Hazy Hills.
You see they're calm, cool, collected. This is very, very similar fashion in which they fight against Pink and Vico. They're very, very patient. They let a lot of those opportunities naturally come to them and really don't make moves unless they're forced to. But I will say, with the zone being this far out with a lot of rotation and ground to cover, it's going to have to come down to this crash pad play. Hopefully they have the Flowberry Fizz to kind of combine with that, just so they don't end up in that trench underneath the mountain and slide off of it.
Yeah, you can see the crash pads in hand. It looks like they're going to do a Flowberry crash pad combination for the rotate. Will they succeed? Who knows? As we take a look at Wheat and Shimoki now. 130 above, grapple blades in hand. Crash pads coming through. No shots going to be taken yet, and it looks like they will stop here just on the edge of zone. They don't want to go too deep yet. They know there's some players potentially behind them. You can see now with the builds, they've got their eyes on them. It could be the tags they need here. 63 players up in the 5th zone. Just 3 need to be eliminated for Storm Surge to no longer be active, so it's not going to be incredibly stressful. However, there are times where those 3 players will just not get eliminated and the pressure will be on.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a bunch of solos like Noah here, just running around, out healing, trying to stay alive, doing just enough to stay ahead of the curve. But he's going to take this moment as he sees a lot of these teams moving forward in that direction to try to turn back. He knows where that combat cache was in not too long ago. He realized the med kits are much more impactful, especially as a solo traveling in the zone for him than those big pots. The instant heals with the shield fish, even though it's 40 instead of 50. I think Noah's setting himself up to try to go through the slower side of the zone and let a lot of these teams pass him up, so that way he can find at least a crevice inside that he can hang on to.
Being 200 above as a solo as well is impressive. I mean, the average damage needed throughout the day during the 6th zone has been around 309. So if he's 200 above, 500 damage without any eliminations. They've been getting more than enough tags. For Pixie Walks, though, on the contrary, they need some. Flowberry Fizz out healing the Storm Surge, but for how long? As there's no more juice left. Walks and Pixie put into panic. Medkit comes through. Just a couple ticks away. Medallion getting traded. Teammate gone down. Pixie left as a solo. As it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah, now he just uses the last med kit, the last of his heals. One Reaper sniper shot is all it's going to take. A couple well-placed AR tags, a burst from the Thunder. You got to try something here, Pixie. Peek through the cone, 135, falling below. He's hoping that the medallion will be enough to continue to try to out-heal this whole scenario.
Sniper shot comes through,
wow.
110. No headshot. Is it enough? 20 below still. He needs another one. Even just take out the SMG, hit a couple shots, but a sniper one is ideally what Pixie's looking for. Take your time here, Pixie. 24. It's not enough. Still below, gets another shot. Is it enough? 30 above, it is, but for how long?
Yeah, just worrying me there at the edge of my seat. What's gonna happen? Seconds remain until Storm Surge activated. Would have been disastrous without any heals left. Only the medallion to try to get the shield back on up, but Pixie has been granted another opportunity to make something happen, but he's not too far off from Noah, who's now suffering to Surge. You know as well as I do, when Storm Surge ticking you down, you might not have any choice but to go in on the box of the nearest player.
Water rotate. Trying to get into this 7th zone for Noah, though. He's lost Aqua already. 24 HP, no shields, no heals. Currently sitting in 9th place. Wants to maintain that top 10 going into day 2. Does he know, though, the player on the other side is also a solo that's not looking incredibly healthy.
This is where it gets hard for players like Noah and everybody else in his position. Solo, no heals. 10 teams need to go down in this next zone. Make it 9 now. as Nevs and Slovey just gets taken down. Noah just trying to look for opportunities. Just one singular damage above the threshold. Chexy is going to be his next target. Gets the piece control, but he narrowly escapes that shot. And now Noah's below the threshold looking for more.
One tick. It could be Noah's demise. The clock's ticking. The damage is increasing, now up to 64. He hits the 25 tag, but it's not going to be enough. Noah, you need to do something. You need to make something happen, and he knows. Unable to connect the shots onto Reason. Now just 13 seconds until the zone closes. Noah has to go in.
Yeah, time is ticking. Only has a few opportunities left. Gets the piece control on the other side. Malibu Mustache almost on the receiving end until Storm Surge strikes, takes him out. Medallion and loot up for grabs for Dealing Reason. Still battling against Pixel and Debule. Piece control going on over. They sneak through a shot, but not able to connect. They don't feel confident enough to move forward, especially knowing about 30 seconds they're going to have to rotate towards zone once more.
No materials for Vidil. He finds the loot from an Elim, though. How many builds is it going to give him? Still 0. Reason, do you have any builds? Please tell me. He's crouched up. None as well. Jacob. They need to find some Elims. They need an impact. They need to do something aggressive.
And this is tough because they're already sitting in first place. They don't need to make any desperate or drastic moves, but that's the position that they're currently in. Without any build, zone is going to pull back, and that's going to give them a sigh of relief. They get to recycle a lot of these builds and live to tell the tale yet another zone. Whew.
Mustache connecting a couple shots, increasing his damage done. They have more than enough, but you can never stop looking. 17 bullets in the Reaper, 300 plus in the Mythic AR. As Teeny and Misha are gonna have to rotate, but Mustache is waiting. Can he connect the shot? Unable to. As he starts his rotate.
He goes back through a lot of his old recycled builds, trying to find the safest rotation on over. Reason gets tagged up. Vidil felt the same pain, dropped to just slivers of HP. That's Mustache. He's a solo on the other side, and Reason takes him out. That's a huge elimination and a huge find in terms of loot.
2 big frenzy shots to secure the Elim. Now back in the game. 71 builds, bigs being popped, medkits being popped, and it's Thomas HD. It's Queasy up above.
Yeah, but we've seen this before. Unfortunately enough, they were unable to hang on to it. It was Veno and Tayson who eventually overthrew the captains on top of the mountain. But first you don't succeed, you try again. They have 5 eliminations so far, and this could be the moment here that they burst up that leaderboard and try to take away first place. There's still plenty of placement points on the board overall, and a nice shot like that. Skvi's gonna get dropped down to a sliver of HP, and there's a whole nother team that see he's weak down there. 275. Thomas does it again. Said he was the best sniper in the game, and that is why.
Is he the best? As now they're forced to tarp ahead. Do they want to continue holding the high ground? Ninth zone, 25 seconds left. The deal and Reason are choosing to rotate along the side, but look at that, directly into Belusi's box. 2 quick Elims.
Oh, but there's still more. Vidil goes down. Reason forced to kind of tunnel towards the backside of the zone. The pressure is definitely on, but he's finding a way to survive. Just a crevice, a nook, a cranny on the side of the mountain, while all other teams are still battling all out to try to get eliminations.
Queasy staying ahead while Thomas now connecting. So far, so good in terms of the high ground. Reason, though, he's lost his duo partner. Vidil is down. He does have that med kit to recuperate the HP and play slow, but what he does not have are materials.
Yeah, running out even with the find that he was able to have early on. It all gets shut down. Wouldn't say first place is wildly up for grabs, but it definitely has a chance for somebody to overtake, including Veno and Tayson. Started this game in 7th place. Each and every time they play, they've been getting better, adapting on the fly, and this could be their chance to finally take that first place.
Queasy Thomas need to apply pressure onto Veno and Tayson. They know they're second high, but the snipe shot connected by Veno. Now, with the advantage, pushing up for the clouds. They want this high ground. They want this win condition. But as the risk factor increases, they drop down, and Thomas and Queasy are forced to go below as well. But Thomas gets taken out. It's Veno. Huge snipe. Now, retook high ground.
He's definitely put a respect on his name in the sniper game. He said, what? He's the best sniper? Nah. Not only gets the sniper, gets the high ground, and a chance to solidify the game now that him and Tayson are taking over.
Queasy alone. He does have a decent amount of materials, but he cannot play second height. The pressure is going to be on him as he slowly drops down below, but he has to find that layer where there's no duos, there's no solos close by. Gets a knock though. It's on Pablo. This could be a huge impact.
Yep, now he's going to get even more mats to work with. Floor getting edited. Queasy quickly thinks he gets out, but he does it yet again. I think that was another sniper on a player towards the sky, but doesn't matter. He's putting on a show. Queasy stuck by himself. Medallion doing the work to try to get his shield back on up, but he cannot wait. He doesn't have the luxury. Too many teams all around.
No medkit, just one tick away, and Storm is going to lead to Queasy's demise here. He's going to have to stay ahead as now gets boxed up with an opponent. Looks like he might have secured the knock, but he doesn't have time to get the finish. He cannot play in zone here. He has no heals. He has no medkit as he continues in the dirt.
Yeah, he's barely going underneath. He's trying to make sure if anybody drops, he has that perfect opportunity. No builds. Geary's Chari on the other side. Cadeau even pops into the mix. Queasy lands that first shot, and he's trying to go around. He doesn't want to get stuck as the sandwich in the middle.
Looking for the one shot, the frenzy. Is it going to be enough damage? It's not. Cadeau, hammer pump, elimination. Pace and Venno looking to secure the win condition.
And this is the same position a few seasons ago as Hari's trying to break in. He does, gets that elimination, bringing it down to a 2v2 situation. Venno and Tayson, they had the high ground, but now it's gone on over. Hari's goes down. He's the first one dropped. 2v1, Venno and Tayson versus Geary's, who's already started the heal off the backside of the zone.
How many medkits does he have? That's what's on my mind as Tayson begins the hunt. Venno trying to outlive his opponent. Who is going to be able to stay up longer?
It's all about the medkits. Venno has none. Geary's trying to make his way to the front side of the zone and doesn't get a chance. Venno and Tayson overtake high ground at the perfect moment. Well-placed snipe, and they steal away Game 6 of the FNCS Finals.
Game-changing shots from Venno. I'm not sure if he had the heal off there. No medkits to his name, but securing those last shots is what got him that elimination and that win.
That is big. Let's watch the replays. The snipe lands. Thomas goes down, and this is where Venno and Tayson completely take over. And it's not enough for these guys to take part in the FNCS Finals. They want to take over the FNCS Finals. And with a game like this to end the day, confidence has to be at an all-time high.
Thomas HD with massive snipes, but Levin said it himself. Venno has been unreal with the sniper rifle recently, and even with the SMG connecting those final bullets to secure the VR, bumping them up the leaderboard.
And this is big. This is a big, momentous moment for Venno and Tayson, because we look at Tayson, we look at his accolades, his history, one of the biggest shining stars in all of EU with the amount of FNCS championships he has, and he's looking to add another one, Takata.
But look, that's it for me and Jacob and day one of the EU FNCS Grands. But I want to know what's happened on the leaderboard. So let's head right back over to those three beautiful faces. Frankie, Levin, Mini, what do you got?
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your beautiful voices today. We'll see you back here tomorrow for day 2 of the action as we recap, or we go through and even the last 6 games of competition. And we have to say it was a third time's the charm for Tayson and Venno, because it was the third time that they managed to conquer the high ground. And this time, Levin, they were able to make good.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys have really shown why they are revered. It's not been the smoothest of seasons by any measure, but they have shown up when necessary, and that's what Tayson does, Minnie. I mean, that's what we know him for. We know him for being that guy that shows up. But in this endgame, Venno, man, the highlight, that snipe right there, it's so symbolic. I said at the start of the day, as much as, you know, Thomas HD is seen as the king of sniping, and he definitely showed that in this game. Venno has been coming for the king, and he's been really, really giving him a run for his money. And to take his head off like that in the end game was just very symbolic, very perfect. And to win the way they did, it was a second left in terms of HP. He really needed to hit that shot. Oh man, it was a really well played end game from these two.
A little bit of a magical moment there, I think. We have Queasy and Thomas, of course, Veno's ex-duo, taking out Thomas, who, of course, Queasy picked up after splitting with Veno and saying, you know what? I am the king in this region. I am the sniping king. And that was absolutely well played from those guys. I think that's where we've seen the most success from them as well, is on that high ground. We've seen them have a little bit of a rough time in mid-ground in some of the later tournaments of the season. And they seem to have been developing into that high ground style really well. It's something we don't usually see from Tayson. Of course, so it's interesting to see how those play styles have meshed between both of those guys. I like what I'm seeing, though. I think, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, 11, they definitely have what it takes to take it all home. But, you know, we're seeing an interesting little bit of play style adjustment from those guys. So we'll see what they do tomorrow.
It feels like Levin's the predictions king now, because Levin, you did say that you felt like Veno was the best sniper in the game. And we've got some evidence to add to your bank now. So we'll keep our eyes on those two snipers during the action. Let's take a look at the leaderboard, though, because actually I'm interested to see where Tayson is, because there was an interesting theory that you had, or you pointed out to me, Mini Miner, about the fact that Tayson, when he was with Merstash this time last year, he was 7th at the end of day 1, and they actually managed to take that one in what was a thrilling finale. But he's not in number 7 anymore. So I guess we have to
He's
strike.
number 2.
He's in number 2. Is this a good thing, or is it a bad thing, Mini?
I mean, it's
obviously a good thing. I mean,
it's not going to be a bad thing to be high up on the league.
It's
I'd
a
rather be
great
there
thing.
than
Come on, guys. It's great. It's an amazing thing for them.
Mate, I'm the one
It
that's... my language has been interesting this evening. Not rude, but interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, is it good to be better on the leaderboard or lower down? I think better would be the answer to that one. Yeah, no, they've done very well today. Very impressive stuff from that duo, of course. Queasy and Thomas, who again have done very well. We saw them in that end game too. And we get to see some of our other duos that have performed incredibly well today. And it's a real testament to see how well that the bigger teams, the more well-known names, have come into their own towards the latter stage of the tournament as well. After a little bit of an interesting start, you could say, Lemon.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in that endgame, it was good to see sort of Queasy and Thomas vying for height, right? Because as much as we talked about them this season and how they are, you know, now evolving into this low ground team, that was always a point we hammered on about, the fact that they still can play there and still will look for it. Just unfortunate that they were on the receiving end of a Veno snipe. Yeah, especially with some of the snipes that Thomas was hitting on height. It was really a big clash there. But ultimately, man, I think it's going to be a great day sort of for Veno and Tayson. They'll be bursting with confidence. I don't want to jinx them, but 6th time might be on the cards for Tayson. That's all I'm saying right now.
Let's take a look at page number 3 as well and see if there are any duos that we're perhaps expecting to be further up. I mean, for me, I'm always going to point out Vico and Pink, but we do know the reason why, Mini Miner. Those battles they're having early game with Kira and Cadeau over the forecast tower has led to some unfortunate results for them. But also, to be honest, Kira and Cadeau are also not making good of that situation either.
Yeah, it's one of those situations when you're contested directly like that where things can go one of two ways, right? It could be easy for them to come out on top if it's maybe a lesser known team, a less experienced team. And I think the problem that they've had as well is, of course, we have teams that are sort of going back towards that area as well, sort of spoiling the party a little bit with that fight. It hasn't been quite a clean fight that maybe both of those teams were expecting. So I'm interested to see how that adapts on day number 2. And of course, we do have a 1.5x points tomorrow on both the eliminations and the placements. So how's that going to adapt, whether people fight off spawn? Will they go for higher eliminations for some teams? Will it force them to maybe take some less risks in the game, or maybe even some more risks, of course, because you do have the elimination points. So excited to see what happens tomorrow.
Minnie, I want to just stick with you for a moment. Are you still standing by your Janice Flixie prediction for them to take the whole thing?
I'd like to, but I'm looking at Vbucks up on top right now, and the last time that Vbucks was up in first place after day 1 was all the way back in chapter 3, season 3. We know exactly what happened in that season. Of course, he won it with Giannis, his first FNCS title. So looking like that Vbucks could be looking good right now, but I think realistically, Levin, you must be feeling good about Veno and Tayson at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, right? The pressure lies now on Vbucks and Reason for the reasons you just said. I can't believe I just said the reasons. So cringe of me.
Hilarious.
No, but look, when you look at Vbucks, right, he's been in this position before and he won, right? So now there's that expectation in the back of his mind. Okay, I need to stay here and do what I did once again. for reason, he's been here before, and he's like, last time I was here, it didn't quite work. So that's playing in the back of his mind. Okay, I can't throw this away. And that pressure, we'll see how they handle it. Of course, all the viewers there watching them, supporting them live. So, you know, they definitely have the support, and they're definitely talented enough to do it.
All I want to say is someone needs to lock BloodX out of his Twitter account so he can't jinx nobody, all right? That's all I want, BloodX. I want you to step away from the phone, step away from the keyboard. Unless you're streaming, I'll allow that. And just think about what you've done. And I'm going to think about what our Giros have done, because 6 games are done and dusted, and we've got 6 more before the Axe of Champions finds a new owner in Europe. Levin and Miniminer, thank you so much for joining me. You guys, thanks for watching. We'll leave you with a sneaky peek at a tasty, lovely little outfit, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night.
That's my show. Burn up and see